without acting alone. Have me control. Have me control. Without have no soul.
Let's do this. Let's see. Make sure we're good. Oh, perfect. We nailed it. Almost.
I'm in.
Almost.
I'm mostly in.
Let's see. Let's get this part. Guys, I hope you guys are all right. This is the patron appreciation or contributor appreciation show. I always have a hard time forgetting that. For so long,
it was
patron appreciation show. So switching it and flipping it over becomes kind of a memory thing just because of what you are accustomed to. How you doing? Good?
Okay.
You look nice today.
Thank you.
I'm saying that as if I haven't seen you all day. Just kind of how they do.
That's okay. It's still nice to hear it multiple times throughout the day.
Is it now?
Yeah, it is. So thanks.
You are welcome. So guys, I hope you guys are doing all right today. This is the Contributor Appreciation Show. This is where we try to say, well, thank you for viewing the show. Thank you for liking the show. Thank you for sharing it. And thank you for contributing to the show. We try to answer questions from the audience. Let me give you a shot. We try to answer questions from the audience on this particular show. So, this is less formal, but welcome to the Soapbox. I hope you guys are all right. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is my lovely wife, Mrs. Thomas, or whatever you want to designate yourself as. Okay, Aisha.
Well, that's what my parents designated me as, but yeah, Aisha.
Okay, that works.
AKA Mrs. Thomas, AKA Mrs. Hollingsworth Thomas, AKA Mrs. Progressive Soapbox.
Aliases aren't necessarily deemed.
I'm starting a YouTube channel called the Mrs. Progressive Soapbox.
Well, talking about that for a moment, you have started a YouTube channel.
Soapbox. Yeah.
Well, she started
I've already
a channel.
had one.
Right, she started a channel on being green, and trying to take steps to be more green.
Hashtag less waste. It's about
what's the name of the channel?
Aisha's Best Life.
Okay, and tell a little bit.
And I'm just talking about how I'm trying to be more environmentally friendly, switching our household from disposables to reusables. focusing on less waste and a more natural lifestyle. That's like my little slogan. I've only got one official video. I've got another one that I'm editing, and it'll be up in a couple of days. So I have 90 subscribers, so it's exciting. Like 92 since I put up my last one.
Yeah.
I got a new subscriber.
It's always exciting to get subscribers.
It's more so because like a couple of like friends and family have asked like, so how do you do this? And like your mom and I have fun sometimes talking about like the silicone bags that I buy, or like how I've started composting and all this other stuff. So I thought it would be kind of cool to share some tips and everything that's going on. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So, anything in the news that struck your fancy that we haven't necessarily talked about? I like to try to go through stuff that maybe I haven't necessarily been paying attention to.
You pay attention to everything. That's your job.
I don't think I pay attention to everything. There's a lot of stuff that, everybody have their own little subgroups. Most of them, I don't care. I don't think they, mean anything. The ones that do think mean stuff are the ones that have consequences in regards to human beings. Like if there was a subgroup that had the goal of killing the president, then I'd be concerned about that because that's more of a political thing.
What?
If it's a subgroup that did knitting or that was talking about Dungeons and Dragons, I don't particularly care. That's all. Like when I was it's funny, when I was younger.
Did you like Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
I was gonna say, let's talk about that.
Nah. When I was younger, I used to think all that stuff is important. New music comes out and you're like, oh, who's the new artist? Who's the new artist? Or something like football and it's like, oh, this team goes to this particular place. Stuff doesn't matter. I mean,
well, that's like when we went out to dinner yesterday and the Olympics was on and Jamal was like, is the Olympics going on? And I was like, remember when we were kids and it was like a big thing to watch the Olympics? Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, the Olympics is coming on Tuesday night at 9:00 and I would watch every single sport. Like ice skating, I watched it all. And now it's like, is the Olympics going on? But YouTube did show me like an Olympics video suggestion, a gymnastics one, so that's the only reason that I kind of know, but yes. But I don't know if it's so much that I think you've just gotten older and there's different priorities.
Yeah.
So
larger priorities.
Also
agree.
Before we get started, my welcome was missed. So I would like to do.
I'm giving you space. Nobody's invading your space. Nobody's invading your space, dog. You're empowered.
Alright, so welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Today is Contributor Appreciation. If you did not know, once a week Jamal takes a show out to say thank you for everyone who contributes to the channel. Patron, PayPal, Streamlabs, Super Chat, subscribers, people who are just here watching. So if you are enjoying the content, make sure that you are subscribed and consider being a Patreon.
Patreon,
a Patreon on the Patron platform. I got you, Trudy. Consider being a Patreon on the Patron platform. Every little dollar helps. And what we usually do is once a week we're going to post out that says what do you, the viewers, and the contributors want to hear for the show, and we pull our content from that information.
Yes.
If you did not know, every now and then Jamal goes to DC and is a co-host or a guest sometimes on a radio station called The Fault Lines. He was there on Friday. There is a post in the Patreon platform, so if you are a patron, make sure that you go check that post out because I did share where you can see his radio show. And then also each and every Tuesday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., he has his own local radio station show here on 93.9 WRWA, The Work FM, and our local Virginia.
Yeah, like Chesterfield.
Right.
Sorry, yeah.
So tune into all the other things that he does outside of YouTube because they're pretty cool too.
Yeah, those are fun. The radio thing's fun. More restrained, but fun.
And also, if you are viewing now and you're enjoying our little introduction as we get started, give the video a thumbs up because we've only got like 57 people here. And so maybe we'll just...
I think there's a lot going on. It's like, also, we only had like a 10-minute lead-in.
Okay. But give it a thumbs up because that does help YouTube's algorithm send out the message to more people, or I think that will pop up so more people know that we are live.
I can see it, yeah.
So if you're enjoying the content or you think you're going to enjoy the content, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And
I want to start with what's the woman name? Jodie
Foster.
No, it's not Foster. It's the politician. We hadn't planned on it. It just kind of crossed my mind while we were sitting here. Where that's the one where she's Democrat representative, and apparently she is sexually what's the word I'm looking for? Open is the wrong word.
Polyamorous?
No, I don't like that word. I hate that word. I mean, that word is fine, polyamorous, but I guess I'm looking at in the sense of a sexuality that is active, one to which I actually approve of, greatly so. I think we do ourselves a disservice in the way that we push love or sex as opposed to issues of war. You can go to a movie. I can see John Wick kill like 100 people in that movie. Perfectly okay. He can kill them in all sorts of ways. He can stab stuff in their eyes. He can crush their throat. And we
You're
leave
talking
that
about how we view violence versus how
sex.
we view sexuality.
Right. Especially in the context of women. Captain Kirk could mac a green woman on camera. He can kiss a black woman on camera. But if you notice, they never show Captain Kirk just going, they never show that. That part, for some reason, is off the table. And if that was shown, that would be a porn. Two separate tracks in the way that we view sex versus violence and everything else. Meaning everything else is permitted except for sex. Now, this is not necessarily a rah-rah, I want Captain Kirk, seeing Captain Kirk fucking the green woman. That's not that. It's also just looking at it and saying, that's weird. That's so bizarre. And I look at her and I say, fair game. Now, the catch here, well, because she apparently was in a 3-party relationship with a woman who worked with her, who was her aide. Now, the catch or staffer. Now, the relationship started before she became a staffer. Now, so a bit of cronyism, but whatever. People hire people all the time. The relationship started. Apparently, the relationship was going for a while. Consensual. Nobody was forced. Nobody was pushed. There wasn't anything of position of, if you don't, be in my relationship with my husband.
No, it was all consensual.
All consensual.
She was married, and they were bringing a third party. The husband and the wife made a conscious effort to try to bring other individuals into their bed.
Yes.
And they brought this young lady in.
Again, I look at that and say, hashtag.
That's fine.
Fair game. Not just hashtag fair game, hashtag good for you. Now, I say that to say, we have certain cultural traditions that we get stuck in. And when we get stuck in those cultural traditions, like, even though your environment, society changes. Like, marriage makes total sense in the world. Don't misunderstand me. To a degree. I mean, ultimately, you are thrust into a reality frame. But you are. I mean, you didn't choose your parents on a corporeal level.
I thought you meant like when you get married.
No. Like, I didn't mean that. I meant...
That's important.
From a corporeal level. Just from us being people. You are thrust into a society that you don't choose, a time frame that you don't choose, parents that you don't choose, family that you don't choose. You can have family that rapes you as you grow up. You can have a family that is kind of like Biden, where you can be a crackhead and still get this awesome job in Ukraine. You don't choose. And all of those things work on who you are as a person. Meaning, even this notion of choice becomes such a dodgy thing because none of those things are factors that you choose.
I understand. So what you're saying is that we come into this life with certain social...
Yes, because of the people who are around in society.
Right.
It gets cultural traditions. Now, I applaud people when they break that. And they say, this shit isn't real. And my husband here is like, hey, you okay with me bringing another woman in? So, okay, fair game. Now, his issue was, well, she also cheated on me in a way that I didn't know. Meaning, yes, we can bring people in.
But it has to be agreed upon kind
of thing.
Women.
We can bring women in.
Well, we don't know if it was just women because they said that he put an ad out that said, "Do you want to F my wife?"
Yeah.
Now that
you're right.
A man.
You're right.
So maybe they were bringing in men or women, but whatever it was, they had consensual relationship. But then somewhere along the way, she went outside of what they had as an understanding,
and he cheated on him.
Was involved with someone else without the husband's knowledge.
Interesting thing here is, how the hell do you pull that off in politics? Some random Joe Schmo, some just nobody who's working at a Starbucks. Nobody gives a shit about him. He can do anything he wants.
How do you pull off...
How do you do that in the public light? Like, how do you pull that off in the public light? Now, I look at this and I say, good for her. I applaud her. I would even go vote for her because of that. But the public doesn't do that. The public sex shames. They shame her. Because it's
against the norm, and it's not what we've grown up as societal norms, and so it's
have naked pictures. Yeah, they have naked pictures of her taking bong shots. They have her like brushing the girl's hair. They have another one that said, "Do you want to fuck my wife?" Where her laying there with her ass up, like some out there videos. And somebody said to me, "It's like, dude, she could be a beautiful human being, but she still broke the rules or ethics rules." And that's the sticking point.
That's a different story.
Different, right? Because my thing isn't like you can have a conversation and you can say, "All right, how can we prove that she broke these rules without showing those pictures?"
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, they show
I
those
didn't
pictures.
need to see it to know that she did something unethical.
Exactly. Whatever is taking place on a governmental level is different than what is taking place on a media level. A media level, clicks, eyes, every capitalistic impulse in the world is to show those pictures. It's to say, hey, look at this, look at this. Because, again, we would show naked women on beer cans in order to sell beer because men like naked women and they would associate it with the beer as a positive
But you want
thing.
to show somebody shooting somebody on the face for some kind of
You show that.
advertisement.
You show that. I guess my point is they know sex sells. And they know a tarnished congressman, an attractive one, who's having a threesome sells. They're doing it purely for exploitive fashion, not because of any kind of real thing. I guess that's the point that'll make it. On a congressional level, yeah, they're going to say, okay, you broke our ethics rules. Okay, fair enough.
That's fine. I don't need to see the pictures of her vagina and the bong shots and the ads that were placed to know that.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah, she broke the ethics rules. Yeah. But the other stuff is not the same.
Yeah.
Wait, I guess what I'm asking is, what do you think about that? I mean, like, Crystal
What's
Ball.
her name? What's
I can't
the
remember
lady's
exactly
name?
her name. I need to find her thing.
Can somebody tell us her name? And if you didn't know that when I'm looking down, I'm actually reading you all's comments. So I'm not just zoning out.
I asked Crystal Ball to be on the show. Now, I did this with a certain degree
Katie Hill.
Katie Hill, that's her name.
You said Jody somebody.
I don't know where Jody came from. Jody, Katie. The IE. It's the
That's
IE
racist.
sound.
Okay.
No, that's the IE sound.
Thank you, Shyster.
I asked Crystal Ball to come on the show because I thought she would have a really unique perspective on the sex shaming thing. If you remember, she had her campaign. Her campaign, it was a difficult campaign, apparently where she was. But she had videos where she was at a Christmas party being a young, attractive woman at a Christmas party.
So, you asked me what I think about it?
Yeah.
Know
because
I
think it's, I think it's fucked up.
I think I should be able to do whatever I want to do in my bedroom. It doesn't affect my job. I mean, unless if I'm not hurt, okay, I should be able to do consensually whatever I want to do in my bedroom. As long as I'm not hurting anybody, I don't think it's anybody's business. It's not going to affect what I go into work and do the very next day.
And I wonder how a man would be treated in this.
They'd be like,
don't misunderstand me. I know people, identity politics and everything else. The catch here is our society doesn't happen in a vacuum. And when it doesn't happen in a vacuum, you have people who have vestiges of the 70s, 80s, 90s, etc., etc. And they look at the world in a particular way and they find out how to kilter. And others just look at it for, effects. Yes, you should be able to do whatever the hell you want. And yet society... what do you think they would do with a man on this? Now, I don't think they would show dick pics. But if they show him naked holding a bong...
naked and holding a bong? That means it would be a dick pic.
No, they put the thing on his dick. In fact, on her picture, they put posties on her nipples. Even that I find weird. It's like, with a man, you wouldn't put posties on his nipples.
Well, this is kind of like, it reminds me of like the argument and the big thing about women breastfeeding in public.
They should be able to breastfeed in public. In fact, they shouldn't even have to have
We had a conversation on this a couple months ago. It was hilarious.
I don't understand the argument that says women need to cover up in public. What is the argument? Honestly, and I don't say this as a guy who's like, oh yeah, I want to see some tits. I say this from the standpoint of...
That's disturbing.
It's a patriarchal society that says men can show their chest, but women need to be clothed and hidden. And I'm saying that's BS. I don't understand why a man can walk around with no shirt on. A woman
There are,
can't.
in our society, clearly different standards.
But I think this deviation kind of goes into this thing with her. Oh no, I was fascinated by that story. I was like, wow, that's massively fucked up what they're doing to her. When I went to the radio show and I was talking to Eugene was like, oh God, yeah, that's fucked up. Now, it wasn't, again, not that she broke the ethics rules. It's like, if it was you, and you, whatever you did in your bedroom, I don't know, everybody has their kinks, right? Some guys like to be tied up and beaten. Some guys, like the women to step on cockroaches. Some people like to be in fuzzy outfits.
You saw that cockroach thing one time, and
No, that is a real thing.
I know that. I guess what I'm saying is you saw that, and now, like, every opportunity...
Because it gets across... Because it gets across kinks.
The varying degrees that people, find...
They deviate from I'm just going to be on top, and I'm just you know,
Are they
that stuff.
dead?
I'm thinking of Christians having sex.
Oh gosh, I'm not going there.
Where just nothing
All
else
right,
takes.
so-
It's like God only permits penis in vagina on top for 10 pumps. Can't get more than 10. Otherwise, you're going to hell.
There. So,
But I hope you get my point, though. Like,
clearly,
people have their
I
various
understand.
things that they deviate from. It's like, all right, I like
as
the power
long
deviation.
as it is being done consensually,
Shouldn't
more
be an
power
issue.
to you.
But assume for the moment that gets blown up and put on the pages. And not just put on pages, conversations that you had with people you were in a relationship with.
I think
All
that's
that
your
stuff.
private business.
I know, I guess my point is, it's brutal. It's just brutal for this stuff to be out there like that. She is in the public light.
And there's not really any recovery from that.
How
Or
do you-
I understand. I
Either-
imagine that it's difficult to recover from
I will
that.
say this. If she gets elected again, she's going to be there forever. For sure, as it's gone through the fucking fire. Like, I know there's an embarrassment associated with it just because of the way we look at sex. But, oh my God. I couldn't believe they were printing that stuff. I mean, that's wrong. I could believe
believe
it, but it's like, oh God, that's
sucks.
fucked up. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, she broke ethics rules. No, she shouldn't be ripped
That
apart
should
as a
be all
person.
that anybody ever cares about. Not,
Yeah.
the other stuff that was done
Ripping
in
her
her
rocks off.
bedroom. Whatever, girl. Do you, boo.
This also happened today.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He was the founder and leader of ISIS, the most ruthless and violent terror organization anywhere in the world. Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He was the founder and leader of ISIS, the most ruthless and violent terror organization anywhere in the world. Last night,
Trump comes out
With this.
announcing that the leader of ISIS
Abu.
is dead. They essentially did a raid and was able to kill him. Now, when they killed bin Laden, there was celebration in the streets. But I think this is a little different because bin Laden was associated with 9/11 and that was such a big event.
Yeah. Everybody
ISIS-
knew bin Laden.
Right. ISIS is kind of remote. It's kind of out there. It's not, And so people know, oh God, these guys chop off heads and put people in cages and set them on fire. By the same token, it's diffuse. It's not entirely the same. By the same token, Trump has just did an order that is killed
Terrorist leader.
yeah, leader of ISIS. Now, hysterics immediately coming into play because Donald Trump thanked Russia, Syria, in this operation. Immediately, on thanking the people, Democrats, Russia is the first country Trump thanks in his list to those who assisted in the raid of Baghdadi. Trump thanks Russia, Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, as well as Syrian Kurds for support with the Baghdadi operation. In that order, Trump praises Russia in killing a Baghdadi. President Trump just praised Russia for allowing U.S. to fly undeterred over territory it control, says Kurds gave us some information that proved to be helpful in targeting a Baghdadi. The operation began 2 weeks ago. Now, their issue here is that Donald Trump thanked Russia. And thanked him in that order.
He said Russia first.
You realize that if Russia didn't allow it,
It wouldn't have.
how does it happen? I mean, it's in their airspace and airspace.
So
that they
what
control.
happened? What did Obama say
Well,
when
see,
they
I didn't.
killed bin Laden?
Well, that's the interesting
Did he
part.
thank anybody?
That's the interesting part. Look at this. Look at this headline. Look at this headline. I love this.
Well, that picture kind of looks like the face I was making. Oh, not that one. That picture kind of looks like the face I was making.
Why is it this large? All right, let's try to make this work. Obama thanks Putin for Russia's important role in achieving Iranian milestone.
This was July 2015.
My, how things change. So Trump, something that everybody agreed for the most part, needs to take place. We got to stop this.
This is a bad guy.
This is a bad guy. We
He
got to
needs
stop
to
this
go
bad
down.
guy. And so Trump orders this to take place. The interesting thing here is, and this situation is somewhat different. When Obama went to get bin Laden, I was telling you about this earlier, they had all of these legal arguments to justify and explain why it's okay for Obama to invade sovereign territory in order to kill bin Laden without notifying the country. He's essentially breaking international law. Now, not all of this applies. So some of that stuff is extremely interesting. The thing here is, Trump kills ISIS leader. I feel remote from this, if I'm being honest. The weird and the odd, strange part about this is that no one brings up that if it wasn't for us, he would have never existed. Like, think about it for the moment. George Bush destroys the Middle East on a lie, kills 1 million people in that process. Obama continues this, screaming terrorism and using that as a justification to destroy Libya. Well, he used Gaddafi as a justification to destroy Libya, as if our bombs don't kill people. But Gaddafi, it's better to be killed by our bombs than their knives. But in Syria, putting in terrorists to take down Assad, he prompted that war. The destruction of the Middle East was the direct reason that this guy was vomited up in the first place.
Yeah.
That's ignored.
That's not important right now.
That's not important right now. We killed him. That's all that matters. When situations, your decision space at times gets narrowed to where after you make so many bad choices that the last choice is also a horrible choice, and yet you make the horrible choice because there are no good choices. This is a no good choice situation. Trump takes the order to kill Baghdadi. There are a lot of Democrats who are now screaming, wait, this wasn't Trump. This was the SEALs that did it. I mean, it was the people who we sent out to do that gets the credit for this. Here's the catch. Those people are working at the hand of the king. What I mean by that is the military is not going half-cocked. They're not going rogue. It's not like somebody just said, yeah, fuck it, let's just go. That never happened. The president had to give the order for that to ever take place. When Obama said, I killed bin Laden, and he, if you remember, was at the presidential thing.
I remember everybody sitting in that little room watching it on the camera.
Well,
as it happened.
Well, there were two parts. Obama was out there giving a speech that day. If I remember this correctly, he was at the press thing, and he was like cracking jokes and everything else. And the very next day, we killed bin Laden. The bin Laden kill was not from terror, like interrogating people. Somebody came in and said, bin Laden is over here. And the United States vetted it and sent people out there to kill bin Laden. My point is, they were also working at the hand of the king. It was the president that gave the choice, so the president gets the credit for it just because the president made the choice in order to do it, especially if those things go wrong and all those people get killed. Trump would have been crucified if that would have taken place.
Yeah.
Now they're going to say, oh, dude, crucifixion. You shouldn't use that term crucifixion because, Jesus was crucified and it's really bad. It's just like lynching. My point is, the hysteria over Trump doing this is massively misfounded. If you give credit to Obama for killing bin Laden, I don't care how disgusting Trump is. You have to give credit. Do you remember the speeches that Joe Biden made? He says, GM is alive and bin Laden died. Vote me back in office. Like, how on earth do you give one credit but take the other one away? Just saying. Second point. It's all a circus, right? It's all a circus. None of these people are serious, be it Democrats or Republicans. The incentives that these guys have when these guys get into office push them to behave in particular ways. Meaning, yes, Obama is going to take credit for saving GM. Yes, he's going to take credit for killing bin Laden. Why wouldn't he? Because he's the president and he needs to use something to get elected on. So he's going to take responsibility for those things. Politicians do it. Interestingly enough, look at this. Stop congratulating Obama for killing bin Laden. Navy SEALs killed bin Laden. Who is that? That looks like Trump. That is Trump. Back in 2012. Isn't that interesting? So in this case, Trump is going to take credit. And I will say, yes, Trump should take credit. And other Democrats say, no, it was the Navy SEALs. Trump shouldn't take credit. And Trump's working with Russia and blah, 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 blah. And what do we have here? Obama's an easy target on foreign policy. Mitt Romney has many openings to attack, especially when Obama starts bragging about bin Laden. Why Trump? Because it was the Navy SEALs that killed bin Laden. So should Trump get credit for doing this?
Well, to be fair, in his tweet he says the United States.
When Trump runs, do you think he's going to say the United States killed
He's going to say, this happened while I was in office.
Trump is going to say, I killed Baghdadi.
I led the movement, or
Trump is going to say, I killed Baghdadi, as if he did it with his own hands. It's a circus. It's all a circus. Like, I have a hard time giving this. This is why I don't get overly invested into this nonsense, because it's nonsense. Yes, Baghdadi. we were responsible for creating something outright disgusting, just like in the Nazi territory, where Hitler didn't come out of a vacuum. Hitler came out of the context of that particular time period and what came before him. If you listen to the stuff that he says, he's massively insecure. Like, a lot of this shit is insecurity, especially from the standpoint of the Versailles Treaty and all this other stuff. My point is, you broke it. And this is what came out of the thing, crawled out of the ground.
But we just fixed it. Or Trump just fixed it. And so we'll never hear from ISIS again.
I don't think Trump fixed anything.
It's over.
I agree.
Done.
I agree that they consider it a win. But he didn't come out of a vacuum. I guess that's my point.
I guess my thing is, and that's what some other people are saying, is that
meaning just
ISIS
because
ain't over.
Yeah, just because you kill him doesn't mean, all right, we're done.
So what are we going to see next week? Well, no more ISIS ever again.
Well, here's the catch. Trump is going to say that ISIS is done because he wants to get the troops out.
Right.
And Trump is going to say, we killed Baghdadi, ISIS is done, and we're just going to steal the oil.
I'm skeptical.
That's what he's going to say.
I'm skeptical.
Well, because he doesn't want it to be our responsibility. We don't live in Syria. Syria is not on the border of Oklahoma. And so if you can pass that off to let Russia and Turkey deal with that, making some kind of deal between Russia, Turkey, the Kurds, hands off. He's going to run and he's going to get on the campaign stage and says, I got our troops home. These other people want to keep them in there forever. That's his argument. That's the argument he is literally making on the campaign stage now when he's out there. And look, I don't know what's going to happen with those troops in Iraq, because he took those troops from Syria and put them in Iraq. And Iraq is essentially trying to get help from the UN to get those troops expelled, saying, you have no right to be here. So I don't know what he does with those troops. Does he bring those troops home? So who knows? But he is making the argument that I'm the one that got our troops out.
He said United States.
Wait till they get on the campaign stage.
He said the United States did it.
No. I said got our troops out. I'm the one that got our troops out.
Yeah.
The campaign videos.
I see that.
And when he gets on the campaign stage, I killed so and so. I've gotten so dejected from this, because it's like, it's not real. Like Trump, and maybe this is one of those things that makes him a dangerous competitor when he's on a campaign stage. He will say anything. He will say anything. The hypocrisy doesn't really matter. Think of Mitt Romney. Go back to, 2012 when Obama was running. And when people were like, God, he lies so much. Mitt Romney lies every time he opens his mouth. Do you remember that? On the campaign stage, Mitt Romney would lie ferociously.
Yeah.
And it got to the point that the person had to fact check him on stage, which killed him. Like, having to be fact checked in action. Oh, that was decimating. And Republicans were screaming and hollering. And the press, he was like, look, he was lying. What am I supposed to do? And then you get Trump, who's worse. It's like they were getting worse and worse and worse. The creatures that these guys were rolling out in the Republican Party were getting worse. Same thing true with the Democrats, just moderately less worse.
Yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake. Trump, however, he gets credit for killing Baghdadi. And still a flagrant liar. And ooh, what's going on?
Oh, are we frozen?
Yeah, we're frozen. Come on. What the hell is going on?
Can you guys hear us? Edward Klein says neoliberalism brought us to this point.
I don't know what's going on.
Our face looks frozen on the screen, but
could you tweet to them? I'm gonna have to restart.
We're moving a little bit.
I don't think we are.
No frozen here. Yes, the audio is working. If you guys can hear us, then you probably just heard Jamal say that we might have to restart the stream.
Yeah.
Because we are completely frozen. We still hear and see you.
Well, that's just
AJ Rivera said, you ain't frozen. What the hell?
Really?
Yeah, it's moving here, but we're getting some movement.
All right.
It was frozen on the screen. I was like,
I don't have control of the mouse, for that matter.
All right. So did we have? Yeah, the screen just went out.
Come on.
I wish I could show you guys what we could see.
Yeah, it's just black. Everything's black.
They're coming through loud and clear. Nothing wrong at all. All right. Well, if you are just joining us, thank you for joining us at Contributor Appreciation. If you are enjoying the live, there we go. If you're enjoying the live stream, hit a thumbs up. It helps YouTube's algorithm let everyone else know that we are live so they can come join the fun. Everybody else said the stream is good.
All right, I'm just waiting on
One
this.
of our screens is down, but
Everything's
we
black.
are still here. Sean McCoy says not even a stutter.
Wow.
So thank you
Well,
guys for
that's
sticking with
messed up.
us. We
have
went
two
from
separate bits of-
Ader. I can't understand that, Shyster. There's a lot of extra letters.
Yeah, I can't see.
Edward Klein says, damn YouTube.
Yeah, damn YouTube. All right, well, let's talk about
Love-hate relationship.
one of the patron appreciation contributor, the Roots one.
Contributor appreciation
So
topic.
ask the question on Roots. I love that question.
Oh, okay. So Michael Williams, again, this is like our top topic giver is Michael Williams. He wants to know, he says, when is a good age for Black parents to introduce the film Roots to their kids? Is it even a good idea? He says yes, and he thinks around 7 years old. What are our thoughts? And should mixed race parents do it or not at all?
So I can only talk about this from my own experience. I mean, ideally, that's how people should talk in general.
Because we don't have any kids of our own.
Right, we don't have kids of our
So
own. But
take
I know
it
how
with
I was
whatever
raised,
you
and I know
want
how
to
I was. Around the
Well, that
time
was
of
atypical.
15, well, not entirely, well, kind of, but by the time I was 15, I was reading a lot of Black thought literature. You know, the Browder
what age?
Fowles, around 15, like when I was in high school. The Browder Fowles, what's the other one? Oh, God, there were so many. Carter G. Washington's Miseducation of the Negro, the ISIS papers, problems. But in general, like a lot of it, like a hell of a lot of it. And I became militant.
Okay, so when did you watch The Roots?
Oh, I don't remember when I watched Roots, but it's the same thing. The militancy was brought about by, holy shit, that happened, and they're not telling us? Maybe, you know, it was that type of thing of society is fucked up in the way that it cuts information a particular way without revealing the other stuff. And as an African American, when you're looking back on it, you're like, oh my God, it was so much worse than they said. It was that. I became militant. I remember my dad one day was like, I'm going to take you to get some bean pies. Now, I wasn't militant in the sense of I need to be a Black Muslim. It was more so...
Was your dad Black Muslim?
No, he wasn't. He was being sarcastic.
Oh,
He
I was
fucking
like,
around.
that's news.
I was saying something to him. I don't remember what I was saying to him, but he was like, yeah, I'm going to take you to get some bean pies. I changed
racist.
when I was in a lot of pain. I had neuropathy. And I had been going to the hospital every day, literally, to get morphine injections in order to just
Make it.
calm down and go to sleep, right? Neuropathy got worse as the night went on. And my podiatrist, my mom calls him at like 4 in the morning, Jewish guy. And he comes out at like 4 in the fucking morning. He looks like hell. Like if you woke up from a dead sleep, he's like, oh, motherfucker. And I would imagine he said, oh, motherfucker, just as a person. And he came out. And I started getting a different point of view in a sense of, well, human beings, you have to deal with them on a human being level. And all of you are stuck in the context of a society. He made no choices about any of the shit, you know, from the standpoint of the context of how I was born, despite the culture and all this other stuff that you might be encased in and the choices that you make that might be in your incentive space. My point of view changed. I was like, this fucking guy came out. Like, if my point of view is right, he doesn't come out. He came out. It was that. It was the eating away at this kind of, oh my God, I can't believe this stuff was hidden, and cutting that with, well, there's other reality to that. It's not that straightforward. It's not that simple. Roots is a fascinating film because, for the most part, the film is true. How do you hide something from your kid if it's true? I think what he's getting at is this will give a kid a perspective. And in giving that kid a perspective, how do you moderate that perspective with actual society? If that kid walks away with that particular movie like, oh, these motherfuckers, and that can't be moderated in any way. Like his point is, how do you give a balanced perspective from the standpoint of what society is now versus what society is then, and the problems and vestiges of that stuff, without tilting them in a way that you don't want to tilt them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to explain.
You want to introduce that and give them a glimpse of what was previously reality.
Yes.
Without them taking that as
your kids are
the predominant way, or like this is the only reality.
Yes. And the difference between then and now. And not just the difference between then and now, the problems associated with now that evolved from then. Like, it's hard. Like, that's a difficult conversation to have with your kid.
I do think it would be good for a kid to watch. I think 7 is a little young. From what I'm seeing in the... Well, let me finish what I'm saying. From what I'm reading in you all's comments, you guys are saying that tweens, somebody said 11 years old is when the brain can comprehend that kind of thing. I do think, for the reason that you said, you don't want your child to look at Roots and say this is the only reality, or this is the only thing that I should focus. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
You don't want your kid to look at that and say this is the only reality. You want to make sure that they are old enough to have had some, like, I think, I would like for them to be old enough that they have had their own life experiences to compare it to, and have a good conversation with them about the history, compared to, like how it has evolved and how it affects the lives that we live. Because no, we're not there. We're not where we should be. But
let me be blunt, because I think we're talking around it. Ultimately, ideally, at least me, if I had a kid, I don't want my kid watching Roots and saying, fuck those white people. I don't think it's a helpful perspective. And I think the root of the question, no pun intended in the moment. I think the root of the question is, how do you let your kid see that without stepping away from it saying, fuck those white people?
I think you need to...
Wait. Do we agree that that's ultimately what he's trying to get at?
We don't want them to be like, oh my God, white people are evil and they killed a bunch of blacks and down with whitey or something like that.
But at the same token, I'm one of those people who... Look, I know...
But you want them to understand the reality of what has happened and why some people today have, like some of the struggles.
I want my kid to understand, not just see, if that makes sense.
Right, and that's the difference. Is not to just show them, but to help them understand. And that's why I said I do think they should be a little bit older when they can understand and pull, you know what I mean? Like, extrapolate that out into
kid goes to school, punch a white kid in the face.
Right.
Fuck you, whitey.
You hung my granddaddy.
Right.
Like, that's not what you want.
I don't want that. So that's not productive.
Before you expose your kid to that, you need to make sure that they are...
they can process.
Mentally old enough to handle that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's fascinating though. I love that question.
Vengeance and justice. That's fine. Your mom says
neither one exists.
Is too young.
Neither one are real.
Oh, Sean McCoy says, I have an interesting question. How do you teach your children about watching the news? Oh,
I would have a course in that shit.
That will be Jamal.
Because my thing would be propaganda of sorts.
Like, I was gonna say that you would tell your kid, question everything.
Yeah, none of this shit is real.
Like, that's what I like if you're talking about, like, what are you gonna tell your kid, like, from Jamarl Thomas's perspective?
Honestly, I would tell my kid everything. None of that shit is real. Like, your perspective of reality is always going to be hazy. Even your perspective of yourself. Like, you never get yourself exactly right. You may have thoughts and these things and everything else, but people will experience you a particular way, but you have an internal reality, but that internal reality doesn't quite... blind spots, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Meaning, reality in general is always hazy in regards to what's out there, if anything is out there, versus who you are. For all intents and purposes, I take it as a ultimate leap of faith that anybody else exists. And, because I can't prove it. I don't know what's in your head. All this stuff could be, for the most part, some kind of simulation that you're just kind of crushed into for some particular reason. You take it as a leap of faith because you get hungry, you feel pain, somebody can punch you in the nose.
Bring it back. You're talking about the news, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm making the point that if just your very basic operation is hazy, then certainly what is taking place out there in Syria or in somewhere else or in DC or in any of these other places that you aren't there, you aren't behind the scenes where they're having these personal conversations with one another, it's all hazy. And media serves for the interests of, for the most part, power. I mean, look at Hunger Games. And then think of Chuck Todd. Like, look at the peacocking that they would do, and for the most part, to supporting whatever the status quo is. Media needs to look at it from that lens, all across the world. Meaning whether it's RT, whether it's Indian media, China media, whatever it is. It has to always be looked at from the context of they are getting across a particular view, and that particular view may not necessarily be real, especially if they're just being stenographers in a way that they give you the information. My point to the kid would be, there are various points of views in the world. There's some that are true, there's some that are not, and ultimately how they compare with reality itself. The media will give you information, meaning the New York Times gives great information. The New York Times, even with the terrorist stuff. They were supporting terrorists in all Washington Post. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're non-biased, because non-biased objectivity doesn't exist.
Yeah.
My kid, or at the very least, I hope that it will be optimistically cynical. And I mean that in the sense of, I don't think pessimism is a survival trait. By the same token, people have their various incentives that push them to act in particular ways. And when you're getting millions of dollars, they're so utterly detached from the life that we live.
Yeah.
Their point of view is not going to be our point of view. And their point of view from their standpoint of objectivity is rich. Things are good. And now I'm going to explain the world to you, and it would mostly line up with the government. When Obama, just for example, when Obama went into Libya and destroyed Libya, he outright destroyed the place. Him and the other 3 patsy nations. They're selling slaves. They're chopping heads. They're rolling gangs. Media never brought that up. Think about it. Did they ever bring that on the news? Did you ever see it in your Twitter feed? Do you know when I heard about Libya? Michael Steele. Do you know who Michael Steele is? Michael Steele was an RNC guy. He was head of the RNC, black Republican. He was on MSNBC. He was the token Republican that they brought on MSNBC. All right. Michael Steele, in an exchange with one of the people on the show, at the very end of the show, Michael Steele snipes at the guy. Well, have you seen Libya? It's not looking all that great. And I said, what the fuck is he talking about? I thought Obama solved Libya. This was when I was in my Obama. I thought he solved Libya. As far as I knew, he fixed Libya. Libya was good. No. And when Michael Steele said it, I was like, fuck Michael Steele. He was going after Obama. Now, later, I was like, oh my God, they're rolling gangs in Libya. Thanks, Obama. And the French president, Macron, doesn't want to take responsibility for it. There's black slaves. They're black slaves. Yeah, but you destroyed the place. You destroyed it. You went with a particular policy that may or may not have been true that ends up with the outright destruction of that country. And then moves on to Syria as if the experiment with Libya was great. Now, what did media do? Nothing. It didn't come up. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't a problem. It wasn't an issue. Do you realize that the Turks who the media is talking about now, oh, those horrible fucking Turks, they were our allies when we were trying to take down Assad. Now they've been renamed as the killer of Kurds. Have you ever heard of Kurds before? You haven't.
None.
And we fucked them multiple times before. What reason do we have to be in Syria? How is it our responsibility? Media. Unquestioned. That's think about that. Like, you have supposedly 2 parties. And I'm saying this in the context of your kid needs to understand this. All kids need to understand this. Every parent needs to be able to explain to their kids, look, some of this stuff is true, some of this stuff is false. You have to kind of discern it. And ultimately, what direction do you want to go? How do you want the world to look like? And you process it in those terms. And just understand that they are not in line with you.
Right.
They're not, this is not a United States in the context of all of us are pointed in the same direction. That is a lie that they give you so you can shut the fuck up and pretend as if, rah-rah. But you need to understand that there are people with varied interests, and your interest is going to be different to theirs. And the news that you get is not necessarily your interest.
My kid's going to have a hard way to go.
No, he's not, because he starts off that way. I had to learn that.
Mike Service said, I'd tell them corporate media is just as legit as the National Enquirer.
But see, that's not entirely true. Like if you're New York Times is corporate media, right? They actually do good reporting. I mean, yeah, I am my kid. He needs to understand that.
It's gonna be a girl
on War Peace.
Do you have a different conversation if it's a vagina or a penis?
No, exact same conversation. I don't care who the kid is. The kid needs to understand it. Like, there's no way for your world to change without the psyche of the people changing.
Can we just let them watch Progressive Soapbox videos? Are you going to let our kid watch Progressive Soapbox videos?
Oh, that I don't care.
Oh, okay.
But they're not forced. I'm not going to sit my kid down and say, you got to watch a political thing. I'm not going to do that. But but it is vitally important that your kid understand that stuff. Like, there's so much that I've learned. Like,
you need to give them those tools and that kind of mindset early on so that they have a better
Now, I don't want my kid to end up being
kind of
viciously cynical, which goes back to the question of roots.
It's going to be.
But there you go back to question of roots.
So,
what do you want?
These conversations need to be had ideally when the child is old enough to really grasp and understand them. And like I said, extrapolate them out to.
Kids have a tendency to do unpredictable things. And trying to push a kid in a particular direction doesn't mean the kid goes in that direction. And it becomes...
Sometimes they go the opposite direction because they push...
That's why I don't know why people want kids. I'm just saying it in general. I don't get it.
I want a kid. I want a kid.
I know you want a kid. I'm just saying.
Okay.
In general, I never understand why people want to. Don't get me wrong, dogs.
Stop comparing kids to dogs.
But they are.
I mean, I get it. It's
Yeah.
very.
It's like a permanent
many ways
4-year-old.
similar, but
Yeah. But
when our kid is born.
But I never quite understand the
hopefully
drive.
You're not watching this because.
No, the kid would know. I don't see anything wrong with. It's like Dad said he doesn't want kids.
He was like, I know you motherfuckers don't want those little things.
Well, look, I was an accident.
But we love you.
I was an accident myself, and so it's what it is. It just shit happens. Yeah.
All right.
Let's go to the next one.
Hit the thumbs up button if you're here so we can get more people on the live stream.
Yeah,
Thanks
that
for
too.
joining us. Welcome to Contributor Appreciation. Happy Sunday.
Come to your spiel.
If you were just now joining us, we're at a little under 150 people. If you're enjoying the content so far, please give the show a thumbs up. It helps YouTube's little algorithm let more people know that we are live. You better not interrupt because you just told me to do my spiel.
I'm sorry, quick interruption. Do you remember this? Now, when this was taking place, I was doing videos. You can look back at my stream, if I'm not mistaken. The United States, Syria starts to take back its territories, working with Russia and Iran. Assad gets back most of his territory. Idlib province. The United Nations comes out and says there are about 20 to 30,000 terrorists in Idlib. Quote, there are about 20 to 30,000 terrorists in Idlib. Donald Trump comes out and threatens the world that if you invade or try to take the territory in Idlib, we will destroy it all. We consider any assault on Idlib to be a reckless escalation of the conflict. If Assad, Russia, and Iran continue down this path, their own consequences will be dire. Guess where they found Big Daddy?
In Idlib.
In Idlib. And is it curious that there are 30, 40,000 terrorists in Idlib? The United States threatens the world if it tries to kill those terrorists who we were essentially backing and supporting and we were, helping them out. And he just so happens to be in that area. Now, the media won't bring that up. The media won't question this. This probably won't ever be seen on mainstream media from the standpoint of it's kind of strange. Actually, that's not true. They may actually say that. They hate Trump, so they may say that. But they may ask the question of, why on earth did Donald Trump considering ending the world when the UN said that all of these terrorists were in Idlib? Why? Now, the interesting thing, that the reason why I don't think that's going to come up, because the moment you ask that question, you've just said that the United States was willing to go to war to protect terrorists. Now, Tulsi Gabbard says this all the time. So this is outright betrayal. This is the betrayal of the uniform. How dare you? You're out there protecting the people who hit us on 9/11.
Yeah.
Like she's, on it. Is media going to be on it? Is media going to notice that we tried to destroy the world for Idlib, and Baghdadi just so happened to be in Idlib with the UN saying there are 30,000 terrorists in Idlib? Is Chuck Todd going to ask that question? Does Chuck Todd even know enough to ask that question?
He probably knows enough.
I'm extraordinarily skeptical. No, I don't even think he knows enough. I think Chuck Todd is some of those people on Hunger Games. Honestly, I think because that's the way I look at mainstream media. How can they not be those people on Hunger Games? These guys are dramatically invested into the system to which we operate. They are handsomely rewarded for their task. If Chuck Todd goes off script, Chuck Todd is going to be fired. I would imagine that Chuck Todd knows that. When you listen to what is his name? The guy with My Lai Massacre. My Lai Massacre. He disclosed it. I can't. His name will come to me. But he even talks about this. How when you're in newsrooms, there's self-censorship. There are things that you just know they don't want. Things they continuously send back. Like, yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want that. Oh, we do like that. Now, from your own job, if you are getting accolades for something that you're doing in your job, you're probably going to continue to go that way because the job considers that to be a positive thing. Well, the same thing's true as news. Not to mention you have people who accrue around their boss. So in their head, it's like, all right, I'm going to be good for my boss. Meaning, like, if Bezos owned the Washington Post, and it just so happens that these guys are attacking Sanders, I have no idea if conversations goes on in back rooms. Possibly, maybe. How the fuck would I know if Jeff Bezos calls a reporter and says, get his motherfucker, he's going after Amazon? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows?
He's probably got somebody.
But it doesn't really matter. What matters is what is taking place. I mean, that would be fucked up. But what's taking place is they're attacking him. And I look at that and say they're attacking him in ways that don't make sense. Sanders goes out and says 500,000 people lose their health insurance or go bankrupt every year because of health things. The Washington Post says, yeah, that's false. Now, Sanders is taking that from a study. The Washington Post goes so far as to contact the person who did the study. The person who did the study says, Well, technically it's 530,000, but 500,000 accounts. Washington Post still said false and gave him 3 Pinocchios despite contacting a person on the site. Now I look at that and it says that is so ludicrous that it's absurd. New York Times runs an article that says Tulsi Gabbard. What's up with Tulsi Gabbard? Sounds like she's working with the Russians. That wasn't an op-ed. That was a straight article. The mainstream media gets on and says Tulsi Gabbard is literally working with Vladimir Putin and is an agent of a foreign power. The people on stage is like, wow, that's pretty provocative. And he stands by it and he goes off. How am I to take this serious? How am I to take this serious? Yes, I think they're the people on Hunger Games. That's what I think.
Okay.
That guy, do you remember that guy on Hunger Games who was easy to talk, like listen to? He's like, oh, here's Candace. And he's like, oh, she's a so-and-so. And he was so flowering about her. And you would think, and then after a while, that fucking Candace, that horrible girl, etc. Why? Because the tent of the government, Cadmus, the tent of the government changed.
I understand.
Syrian Defense Force are now terrorists who are killing Kurds. Isn't that amazing how to work? Bam! On a dime. Changes. Daesh versus the other thing. It's the naming and everything else. What the media, that for the most part, goes along with it. Chris Hedges was fired at the New York Times for coming out saying, look, the stuff they're saying about Iraq is bullshit. He was booed and hissed on a stage when he said the same. The man has like 20 years of experience in the Middle East. And he's, with his own knowledge. What did the media do? Did the media push back at Bush? Bush is a right-winger, hardcore. Did the media push back? No. The media was complicit in the murder of those million people in Iraq. I guess my point is, media, for the most part, goes along with power. Usually, with Trump, they hate his guts. They rah-rah him on anything foreign policy. Meaning, Baghdadi, yes, was killed. Are there any legalities associated with him being killed? Now, in this case, maybe not. Because it seems like Trump got permission from the foreign governments involved, which is why he thanked those foreign governments.
Right.
As Obama, who didn't tell anybody. Obama didn't tell anybody. Obama did that shit in secret. In fact, Obama even held the information from congressional leaders. Now, the reason they held it is because it was like, oh man, all these legal loopholes that we need to come up with justifications for. They didn't tell Pakistan. They invaded the country. They killed bin Laden. They were questioning whether we should kill him or bring him back. Like all of those legal things. It's like, if he tries to surrender, can you kill a man who's trying to surrender legally?
Yeah.
Now look, whatever you want to say about Obama, clap of the hands, so at the very least thinking about the shit. Do you think Trump would have thought about it? He wouldn't have given a shit about the legalities. Look, whatever people want to think about Obama, I think he's an extremely bright man. I think he's an amazingly talented politician. None of those things go to policy at all. But from the standpoint of him politically, he would have beat Trump. He wouldn't have lost that race.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, policy-wise, like, God, man, I feel like we've missed such an opportunity. Obama had a Democratic majority, a supermajority in the Senate, and he had just won presidency as a black man with a Muslim name in a country that had recently been hit by a person with a name that sounds really similar to him.
Yeah.
He had an open door. And do you honestly believe that those Democrats that were shucking and jiving about healthcare could have withstood him getting on the campaign, like going at him, like full bore up, we're going to get this passed? He didn't give a shit about the healthcare stuff. That was the politics to get in. He let Congress do it all. Do you think Sanders would have given that over to Congress and let Congress, he dropped the ball in so many ways. Even this pretending that the Republican Party was going to work with him. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? I honestly, whatever you want to think of Clinton, from a standpoint of bringing bodies, she's your person. And I have a hard time believing she would have been working with the Republicans in the way that Obama tried to work with them. Like, she had a memory of an antagonistic relationship with them going back to her husband.
Right.
And I don't think she forgot that. For whatever reason, Obama didn't remember that or tried to, I'm going to be above it all. His politics was, I'm the guy that's above it all. So what did they do? We're not going to work with you at all. Think of Boris Johnson. Perfect example. Boris Johnson says, I'm going to get us out October the 31st. And Parliament says, are you now? And Parliament does everything at their disposal to stop him from that in order to weaken him politically because he said something, he was going to do something.
Yeah.
Republican Party, same thing. I'm going to be above it all. I'm the guy who's going to be a peacemaker. I'm going to bring us together. And they say, fine. What are you pushing for? All right, I want to push this climate policy that we were agreeing upon it. Yeah, we're not for that now. All right, I want to push Romney Care. I mean, it was Romney's plan. It was a Republican plan. You got, Heritage
like
Foundation did, so you got it like this. Yeah, we don't like that either. All right, what's that plan that you guys were pushing last time? Yeah, we don't like that either. Everything was we don't like that either. It was because he set himself in a political sense of, I'm going to work with the other side, missing the point that the other side has to also work with you. That's not a one singular thing. Britain saying we want an extension from the EU. Well, that's not given. Same thing with, I'm going to be the peacemaker. How do you do that if the other side doesn't want peace?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, because we are way...
We're on a tangent.
You.
Well, somebody asked the question.
They didn't ask that question.
They did ask that question. It fled into other things.
You fled on a tangent.
Babe, you need to be more supportive.
I support you answering the question.
You need to be more supportive, babe.
Being considered of
you
the
need
fact
to smile
that
more.
it's 7:20. Oh, fuck off. All right, Maggie Smith, thank you for our first super chat. Maggie says...
You need to be more supportive to your husband.
Smile is like the thing that women get when they're
Both
like walking down the street.
honestly,
and they're like, smile, girl.
I think both are bad.
Smile, woman.
Well,
smile, beautiful.
Personally,
why don't you smile? Fuck off.
That's true. Fair enough. And that's the interesting thing. Men and women, guys are like, why are you upset with that? Essentially, you're trying to tell me it's the shirtless thing. Yeah, it's the shirtless thing. If I want to be, if I want to have a resting bitch face,
if I want
then I want to have
to
that.
Scowl while I'm walking down the street, this is my
My mom just died. My aunt might just got shot. That might have all sorts of things going through my head. Smile, baby. Yeah, that's always pretty bad.
All right, Maggie Smith. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's just like, just be quiet. You're so beautiful. Why don't you smile? What do I have to smile about? Maggie Smith, with kids, what you do is more important than what you say.
Yes, that's absolute. Yes.
I agree. So while you're having those conversations with your kids, you need to,
Well, I mean, like I said, it's never within a vacuum.
She also says, chat can't help but notice that Mrs. Thomas is a stunning, beautiful woman. Oh, thank you, Maggie.
Oh, yes, I appreciate it.
Garden Gnome says, slap you. Garden Gnome, how many times have you typed?
She knows I'm not. She knows I'm not being serious. We say horrible, racist things all the time.
No, we don't.
You don't know it.
No. Speak for yourself, dude.
When people touch their face, it's often an indicator that they're not telling the truth.
No, my face is right here.
No, it's not. Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a subconscious indicator that this person has just said something that's not true.
All right, what's our next topic?
Our next topic is Sanders. So Sanders, well, let's talk about it let's show the video first. So Sanders is at a meeting. What is this called? It's like HBU. Tonight. Yeah, HBCU, right. So Sanders is asked the question on that he cannot possibly answer.
Can we show this?
Yeah, we can show it. And I got to be honest, I see absolutely nothing wrong with the way he answered this question at all. And I don't get any black parent that sees anything wrong with this question.
Let's show the video. I haven't seen it either.
Because even though it's unsatisfying, it's a rational actor. Meaning, as an African... Let me say it this way. You're not going to tell your kid, be disdainful of the cops. No black parent will tell their kid that because every black parent is terrified that their kid will get murdered.
They want their kid to live.
They want their kid to live. Meaning, Sanders saying, hey, respect what the person is doing. Can you give us some
context and let us see the video?
I am. All right.
Please.
All right. So Sanders is asked, how do you keep your kid essentially from being murdered by the cops if you were a black parent? I don't know how. Go ahead, Sanders. All right, it's coming. Hold on. Twitter has some ways sometimes. Yeah, but people. I mean, look, haters gonna hate, right?
My question.
But let's hear him.
My name is Jamarl Thomas. I'm from Bamberg, South Carolina. I'm a sports management major. My question is to you: if I was your son, what advice would you give me the next time I pull over by a police officer?
Hold that mic a little bit closer.
I'm sorry. If I'm your son, what advice would you give me the next time I be pulled over by a police officer?
Next time you pulled over by a police officer, I would do my best to identify who that police officer is in a polite way, ask him or her for their name. I would respect what they are doing so that you don't get shot in the back of the head. But I would also be very mindful of the fact that as a nation, we have got to hold police officers accountable for the actions that they commit. And that is, so to answer your question, I would be very cautious if you were my son in terms of dealing with that police officer, but I also defend my rights and know my rights and make sure, if possible, that police officer's camera is on what goes on.
Now,
How do you answer that question?
there's nothing wrong with this answer because there is no good answer. I'm sorry. Like, don't get me wrong. There may be people who get a political answer. It's like, oh, I like that political answer. But we're talking about a situation where you are interacting with somebody who can murder you and that you know has murdered people.
Right, and very possibly not face any consequences.
None, but
after that
people,
whatsoever.
waving their fists at him. So in that situation, Sanders is asked, in a situation where you are subordinate to somebody who can murder you and get off, whether you're right or he is completely wrong, how do I make sure my kid gets home without being murdered?
You can't.
How is he supposed to answer that question? Like, think about the question. How is he supposed to answer that? Fact of the matter is, in that situation, your decision space has so narrowed. Like, you can be completely right. I give you a perfect example. He gave a rational answer, is my point. Any black parent will tell their kid, don't get murdered. Now, they're saying that in the sense of saying, don't do anything where that cop will murder you. Now, I have a particular point of view of the world. And I remember my mom, the other day, my dog got loose, Bo. Bo is a 80-pound pit bull. Not the brightest.
Don't talk
Very
about my
large.
baby like that. He's very
Bo
intelligent.
doesn't quite know where his house is, which for whatever reason, I have no idea why he does not. There have been turtles. Did you see that turtle that went like 5 miles or something to get home? Bo gets out and ends up going to somebody else's house and sits at their door. And apparently, according to the cop, chased this woman down the street. Now, what he probably did was...
He wanted to get in the house.
He wanted to get in the house.
He's lazy and he's greedy. So
Right.
once he got tired of exploring, I think he just went to the closest house and was like, all right, I'm ready to go inside now.
And considering he's done that before, I think that's exactly what happened.
With no malice.
A cop goes to the woman's house. I am literally like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And his response is, stay back. He starts screaming right off the bat. Now, he's like, and then he acts as if Bo is a dangerous, angry dog and that I am scared to get the dog. This is fucking nonsense. I open the car door, Bo jumps in. And we drive to the house. And he comes in and he's like, I want to see all the paperwork on the dog. Now, most people probably wouldn't have paperwork on the dog. He's doing this to be an asshole. Because this issue at this point has been solved. And the entire time I'm like, dude, if there are any damages, let me know. I am really sorry that the dog was there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, well, she said the dog was chased. I said, well, to be fair, if it's somebody, even if he's,
When I first met Bo, I was like, oh, hell no.
he's going to eat my dog.
Yeah.
He's
I was
big.
like,
He's huge. And I'm like, well, I mean,
very tall,
I'm
too.
like, any dog that's 70 pounds that's following you think you're being chased. Don't take the Cassie. What do you say? He's like, don't try to spin this. No, that's reality. Now, my mom is out there. At this point, it's like, just let him talk. Just let him talk. Talking about the cop.
Jamal, your mom said don't keep using her as an
Now,
example.
here's the catch. I think she's wrong on this. Now, I tell the cop, and I'm trying to explain to him, like, look, I am extremely sorry that the dog got loose. It was an accident, which it was. There is no other situation where the dog has ever gotten loose. There is nothing else that you have to point to that there has been a problem with the dog. The problem at this point apparently has been solved because that woman is pretty straight, but he wants to say he can be an asshole.
Talking about, let me see the papers.
Right. Now, my point here is, even between the paper thing when you went in, he was being a prick. And he was twisting words in order to come up with some kind of thing to be angry about. And I'm like, why are you being a cunt to me if I'm being legit and sorry to you? And any notion of respect has to go both ways. You're not really a policeman. You're just a person. And as just a person, I'm engaging with you in that with the secondary knowledge that you can murder me. The respect in this should go both ways. Especially since we're paying your fucking salary. And you should have a camera on. There should be no cop anywhere in the world walking around without a body cam. They are dangerous. I'm sorry. They're dangerous predators.
I don't think he carried a gun, did he?
I don't care.
He's a dog catcher.
How would I know that? How would I know that? And do you believe my mom was engaging him with this notion, this guy's just a dog catcher, or would she engage him in it? He can murder my kid? I guarantee you her engagement with him was from the standpoint of, please don't murder my kid. And kid, don't talk back to him even when he is fucking wrong. Now, my thought is, A, don't go for the cop. Meaning, don't shuck and jive for the cop. I'm your kid. You've known me for 40 years. You know clearly... Listen what I'm saying. You know clearly what I'm saying is right and that he's twisting words and he's finding something to be angry about. But from her standpoint, as a parent, he can murder my kid. This thing with Sanders, what he's saying, is literally what black parents will tell their kids because they don't want their black kids to get murdered by a cop and get off. That is the worst case scenario. This is the point I'm telling you here. People who are angry at Sanders and wanted some kind of magical political answer miss the point that it's a rational answer from a parent who don't want their kid murdered. Respect what the cop is doing, meaning he's there to do a job. And not all cops are horrible people, so don't misunderstand me. He's there to do a job. If he pulled you over and you were speeding, okay, respect the fact that he pulled you over because you were speeding. That type of stuff. So, okay, fair enough. It gets more along the line, and I think the question gets more to the core of, but what if you're not doing that stuff? Meaning, what if he is being a dick to you? Right. What if he is wrong in what he's saying to you? What if he is being aggressive and boisterous? Like the other woman who was in her car and the cop ends up murdering that woman in the jail cell. Or the other guy where they pull up and then shoot the guy in the head, the 14-year-old. You can go down the list. Michael Brown talking to the cop and they choke him to death on the streets of New York with people watching him being a person being choked to death by other people who in their fucking heads have their psyche of thoughts, I'm the authority here. And whatever takes place is fine because I'm the authority here. That needs to stop. Yeah, Sanders' point.
I don't think body cams do anything.
Body cams do. Yes, they do.
You do think so?
Well, because ultimately, if a cop knows he's... Well, the catch is, I don't think they should go unwatched. They should be live to some degree. I don't think the cop should ever be in a situation where they are one-on-one with another person without something there that gets across that they are being monitored. They need to be on a leash. I would be okay with even they put chips in their heads. I would even be there. If Elon Musk created a chip that puts in their heads that can monitor it and keep it... Fair enough. But as it is, you get pulled over by a cop. You have no idea what the quantity of that cop is that pulls you over. You don't even know. There are such hazy quantities in regards to the ones that are killers versus the ones that are not. And you have no idea which is which. Sanders' point here, I don't understand how any rational human being say he's wrong. His thing is know your rights. Your rights don't matter. Your rights matter in the courtroom, not on the street. That's the first point. Like, I hope you understand my point.
I do.
His thing saying, well, you have to respect what's taking place. A, know your rights. They don't matter. They only matter in the courtroom, not in the moment. People get murdered all the time, and the cop says nothing. White, black, and everything in between. Blacks may get hit from a standpoint of a ratio thing. And this other stuff he said. But ultimately, how does Sanders answer that? And the only thing he comes to is, in the moment, you're fucked. After the fact, we need to do something about the laws to be able to hold police accountable in order to bring this stuff down, that type of stuff. And so he gets to that, but how do you answer that question? If that was a black person and they asked that, what do you do in the moment to tell your black kids not to get murdered by cops? And what is the parent going to say?
This is a conversation that every parent has with their black
No, every black
kid.
parent has.
Well, that's what with their black kid.
Yeah. Cops are dangerous
Renee
animals that will murder
says,
you.
I told my son to always respect and do what the officer says. Any disagreement needs to be handled in court. My son has been pulled over several times.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that you can say is...
If that's true, then what makes this wrong?
Try to be respectful.
What makes this answer wrong if that's true? Nothing.
What do you mean? Oh, nobody said that this was wrong.
No, there was. You had a lot of Democrats complaining about the answer. And you
saying what?
Essentially, be respectful. Their issue was to be respectful to the cop. That was their issue. And I'm like, the perspective that you need to get away from be respectful to the cop. My back and forth with that cop freaked my mama. Again, in her head, that cop can murder you. And so you shouldn't have a disagreement with him. So even she took the perspective of, just obey. I think that perspective is ludicrous. And so my thing, so it's like you are being obtuse intentionally and being an asshole. And for whatever reason, you have the expectation that in being a prick and an asshole, that the other person just sits there and say, okay, that's fucking insane. Now, a parent, which is what he asked, which is what the question was, what, as a parent, do you tell your kid not to get murdered? And what does he say? Respect that he's there for a reason. What else is he going to say? How do you get your kid home? Honestly, how do you get your kid home from dealing with a cop without saying that?
I have to be honest. I would probably tell my child, in addition to being respectful, to do their best to be non-confrontational, which is your issue with what happened in your circumstance. I don't think, I may not have used the same terminology, I may not have taken the exact same stance that she did in the situation, but I could see as a parent seeing what appears to be my son having an argument with an officer to try to kind of diffuse the situation. Because even though, yes, you might be right, if he shoots you in the face, he was right at least.
Well, yeah.
But we could say, well, at least Jamarl was right.
But that's the question that Sanders is being asked.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying is, in addition to,
how do you be non-confrontational with somebody who's being confrontational?
and honestly, it doesn't matter. Because there have been issues where they're not being confrontational and you still get shot. I mean, there are people who are literally laying down on the ground and still get shot. I really don't think that there's anything you can do to,
in the moment,
guarantee. But I think that it does help to say, be respectful and non-confrontational. And you can disagree or, speak to the truth without being confrontational.
No, in court.
So do it in court.
So
then what do you say
just so we're clear,
then?
I wasn't being confrontational with the cop. If you remember, I kept apologizing that the dog was loose.
You did.
And I kept apologizing.
Right.
I kept saying, I'm really sorry. Are there any damages? Is there anything? Is she okay? Making sure nothing. It is impossible to go beyond me in the remorse that it was that the dog got loose and that he chased. And that didn't matter.
I know that, but I guess that's what I'm getting to, is that after you apologize and he still kept pushing.
He's been an asshole.
Instead of reciprocating that with like irritation and
just say okay.
No, not to say okay, but you were animated.
Because he was being an asshole. The guy, look, all I'm saying is a dog catcher deals with a situation where the situation is entirely resolved.
I get
He
it.
has no power in it. Believe it or not, if you remember at the end of the conversation, I was like...
No, not believe it or not.
Well,
I was there.
I said, what would you have done?
There was nothing he could have done.
What would you have done if none of this was there? Nothing. So you're just here to be an asshole.
Right, because there was another circumstance where we were talking about another dog in the neighborhood and why didn't you take that person's dog? And he said, well, there's nothing that we can do.
We can't take it.
If we had not shown up, then he could have taken our dog. But if we shown up outside of Bo biting somebody, there was nothing that he could do.
Powerless.
And that's what he said. So for you to come to our house and say, do
there,
you have his papers?
He was there to be a cunt.
Even if he didn't have papers, there was nothing that you could do. You just wanted to...
My point is, his antagonism is the thing that escalated.
That's the point
that I'm making.
You escalated with him.
His antagonisms escalated the situation. This is kind of the point that I'm telling you. How that guy is on the streets. And there are people like him all across America that are on the streets. And his engagement with somebody who was white might be different than me being black. I have no way to know that. And because of the history of this country, I can't take that as a given. Even beyond that point, as one person engaging another person, there's ways to engage with that person without being a cunt. That's my point. And being a cunt escalates the situation. And if he is trained that way, and all the police officers across the world are trained that way, currently are trained that way, these deaths and these killings and these murders that take place are in many respects responsible by them. What they were doing. Was Tamir Rice being aggressive to the cop when he shot him in 2 seconds? I can show you the video. And Michael Brown arguing with the cop doesn't mean that the cop should be able to murder Michael Brown on the streets over fucking cigarettes. I'm just making the point that they are the problem in this. It's not so much that society is great and everything else and everybody's rainbows and light, and not every situation is not tense for the cop or annoying to the cop. But if that cop does that, and I have to believe that that takes place across the country to people with guns that can murder people and in their heads thinks, clean shoot. He was talking back. You should not back that cop in any way. That's my point. And that was kind of the point to my mom. You should not in any way take the side of that cop when he's behaving that way. When that cop was choking that kid to death, or choking that kid, that 11-year-old, and wouldn't get off that girl, 11-year-old special needs girl, and he's screaming, "Stay down!" And the people just watched. They just watched. One man is tackling a special needs 11-year-old for stealing too much milk. And in his head, I have the authority to do this, and everything is...
Wait.
Oh, wait, don't interrupt me.
No, you've been interrupting
Don't be a woman-splainer. Don't be a woman-splainer.
I never got to finish what I was saying because you interrupted me. So there's a fucking super chat saying you're rude for interrupting me. But now I can't interrupt you. Calm down because I feel like you're attacking me.
I'm not attacking you.
Yes, you are.
I'm not attacking you. I'm just making the point that between a cop...
And it's Eric Garner. You keep saying Michael Brown.
Between a cop... Eric Garner. But between a cop that is acting...
Thank you, Rob.
Like an ass. And your husband or your kid, that is not... The notion that you take the side of the cop bothers me greatly. And the notion that even my mom took the side of the cop.
So if your kid is outside arguing with the cop, even if the cop is wrong, what do you tell your kid?
I don't take the cop's side, I'll tell you that much.
What do you tell the kid?
What do you mean? That's arguing with the cop?
Yes.
I'm probably talking to the cop also. I want my kid to not be unrestrained. That's true. I mean, I don't want him losing his shit.
Right.
By the same token, I am not under any circumstances going to make that cop feel like what is taking place in this moment is somehow good or right, or that he is on the right side of it. Fuck that. That's a fail.
Now, what I will say...
And maybe that's the problem with Sanders' answer.
Maybe I don't think there was a problem with Sanders'
I don't think there's a problem with Sanders' answer either. He's talking from the standpoint of a parent. And like you said, what do you tell your kid in that moment? Do you tell the kid to shut up? Do you tell the kid to be respectful while the cop is just being a complete cunt? Or do you also engage the cop and say, look, that's not really what he said. And you might say, well, look, Jamarl, calm down. Look, that's not what he said. What he actually said was so-and-so, and you don't have to behave that way. Like, you don't have to automatically take the side of a cop.
I understand.
As if you're giving fealty. You can also engage a situation in a way that doesn't necessarily take this kind of weak position.
I understand. But depending on the person, and this is all I'm saying, bring it down.
Fine.
Is that I think the knee-jerk reaction, if I see my kid arguing with a cop, is to try to de-escalate the situation.
Yes.
Depending on who the person is, they might say, son, calm down. Or they might say, well, wait a minute, police officer, my son has a point. Now,
the latter is better.
That's fine. That's fine. But
do you want to make a cop...
Depending on the person, some person might take the knee-jerk reaction that's more passive, a more passive individual.
I understand the knee-jerk
a non-confrontational individual to just say, son, be quiet.
So it is better...
I'm not saying that it's better. I'm just saying that there's two different things.
Cop acting out of hand, being a complete cunt. You know your kid or your daughter that's went for all of these years, meaning you know that the way he's twisting it is not the way it is. And you honestly believe that the best response to this is to talk?
I didn't say one way or the other which one was good or bad.
I'm just saying...
I'm just saying there are two different ways.
There are different ways. I'm talking about
You
better.
prefer the way...
I'm not talking about prefer. I'm talking about you're engaging a situation where your kid is being harassed by a cop. I don't think it is good to make that cop believe in any circumstance that what he is doing in that situation is right. That's my point. When those kids were standing around, or those guys were standing around watching that 11-year-old special needs girl getting beat up and abused by a cop, I don't think it is right to coddle the cop as if something he's doing is right. What did they say? Stop. You don't need to do that. Stop. They didn't immediately go to the... They did tell the girl at some point, hey, lay down and so forth because this guy's an animal and he may murder you. They did get to that point. But they went to him. Stop. You don't need to do that. This is, beyond the pale, etc. Because they wanted it across to him. You are acting out of your fucking mind. My point is, social pressure matters. And in the sense of even loyalties and allegiances, why would you ever side with authority when this authority is acting out of hand? I don't even understand that perspective. That's my point to you.
You don't understand it? Seriously?
I don't even understand that perspective.
Because we live in a society where we are afraid.
I know people are different.
I think some of it is a fear response.
Yes, it is
if
a fear
it is
response.
my goal in life to not die, not be confrontational, keep my children alive, and I'm afraid of this police officer, then my knee-jerk reaction might be...
I don't care about the knee-jerk reaction.
Okay.
That's not the question that I'm posing to you. And that's not even what I'm getting at. I'm going above just whatever kind of fear response that is taking place or whatever kind of knee-jerk reaction. I'm getting to what is better
I understand
That's
that.
what I'm getting to.
But you just said I don't understand why people do that. And I'm telling you.
No. I'm
this is
saying
why.
I don't understand the perspective in this situation. I don't understand how you will go to your kid as opposed to try to engage this cop that is a fucking lunatic.
Okay.
That's the only part. I love my kid, and I want my kid to live in this process. Well, I know, but if we're talking about this as parents, I love my kid. Ideally, I mean, hopefully. And in loving my kid and caring about my kid, I also, to some degree, I would hope, know my kid and just reflexively have his back. As an absolute. Now, don't get me wrong, especially if I know my kid is not a fucking lunatic. And if I'm looking at the situation, I'm like, that cop is losing his mind, and that cop is twisting this.
I feel you. I'm just saying I understand the other perspective.
I may be concerned, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But I would hope that at some point I would say, that's not what he said. Just as a basic.
I understand.
Look, my point is, in this discussion, you gotta hear the back and forth. What Sanders said here, he's being asked, as a parent, what do you tell your kid to not die? That's not wrong. Your kid engaging with that cop one-on-one, what is that kid to do? And should you say be disrespectful to the cop? I think the answer is that would be ludicrous. Nobody's going to say be antagonistic to a cop just for the sake of being antagonistic. The guy is going a little bit deeper, but Sanders' point is, if you want to get home, and if I had a kid, black, white, otherwise, and I wanted that kid to get home, I may tell that kid, don't push. Don't push. This. It's not insane. It's a rational response.
Okay.
They howled at that response, by the way. Joe Biden says black people can't raise their kids. But this response, for some reason, their issue was, he said, respect the cop. How do you not get murdered? And Sanders' thing was, look, you have to have respect. Now, technically, you say you have to respect why they're there. That's a little bit different. Respect why they're there is kind of like, look, this guy is here to, I don't know, take the cockroaches out or something. That's a bad example. It's more like he's here to do a job, because that's his point. And you have to kind of acknowledge that, well, yeah, this guy's here to do a job just like I'm fucking around. The crux of this really, honestly, is not, is this guy here to do a job? You have traffic stopping, you go about your business. I've been stopped by the cops. And there have been times where I thought, fuck, man, if they stop me now, fair game. The world is a better place if they're like. So don't misunderstand me. This is not absolutes. It more boils down to, if you're not being insane to that cop, shouldn't that cop not be insane to you? And even if you disagree with what that cop is saying, does that give permission to kill you? That's the crux, and that's what this guy's getting at. And the point that Sanders is trying to make, that everybody should have body cameras. That's great, and you should know your rights. That doesn't matter. You're a one-on-one.
You don't have any rights on the street.
Yes. Even that person that in Super Chat, what'd she say? I told him be respectful, go to court.
Right. Disagreements can be handled in court.
Yeah. So.
Okay, are we done with this?
Yeah, we can be done with this.
Okay. Marcus Will says, when will Bernie endorse Warren?
Oh, God, don't say that. Well, that gives us another good one. So, I was on Twitter. Yeah, that was one of my topics. I was on Twitter, and somebody chided me and saying, well, what happens when Sanders gets cheated again? Now, my response to this, apparently, viral is too strong, but definitely a lot of people seem to have feelings about it. My response, and somebody pushed me on this response, but I think the response is right. So I said 3 things need to happen if Sanders loses. 1, people turn on Sanders. First, meaning people attack Sanders. People don't accept what Sanders is doing with this and be kumbaya with Sanders if he's trying to push somebody else. 2, reject whatever candidate that gets vomited up in the process. And 3, burn shit down. Now, it was the 3 that people were like, whoa, that's pretty strong.
Burn it down.
Now, but my point to him, and my point was, your democratic process is breaking down. The Democratic Party cheated Sanders, chose Clinton early on. He did everything they could to ensure that Clinton exceeded the primary. She lost to reality show hosts with Republicans gaming the system in regards to voter IDs and interstate cross-check, essentially knocking thousands, hundreds of thousands of people off the voter rolls in the various states, particularly important states. Meaning, the Democratic Party was gaming the system. The Republican Party turned around and did the exact same thing. And then the Democratic Party turned around and doesn't accept the election result. And for the entire time have been in one investigation after the next to act as if the president got in because of the Russians. Now, if they would have said they got in because of the Republicans, I would say, fair enough.
Yeah.
But that's not what they did. They immediately went past that. Neither party accepts democratic process. Now, what they're asking me ultimately is, if neither party accepts the democratic process, how do you have any earnestness in the process in regards to how you choose a candidate? And if they're not, that means that your choice is almost irrelevant. Democratic parties are almost like low-level wars, ultimately. And the handover process is this ceremonial thing where one side, ideological in a sense, hands it over to another without firing a shot. Now, if you remember in Kenya, they say we hate elections in Kenya. They hate elections in Kenya because they never go well. And neither side or one side never accepts the election result. Now, why do I think it is vitally important to react and reject any notion of just kind of accepting it? That's kind of why. If you, as a person, go out, make a vote, or push for a particular political interest, and that vote is shafted because one of the parties has decided that they know better and they want to stop the American public from making a fair, earnest choice, that is a problem. That is a massive problem. Your democratic process at that point is broken down. My point is, that should be rejected outright.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit who's on the other side. It should be rejected. And it should be assaulted and attacked as such, as an attack on a democratic process. The Democratic Party has said that an attack by Russia, a hack that never took place, was tantamount to 9/11. That they've attacked our democratic process. All right. Cenk Uygur said if Trump got rid of Mueller, they should go out and throw their bodies in the street. He didn't do that when Clinton was stealing the election from Sanders at all. My point is, Sanders should not be supported or backed up if Sanders gets out there and is cheated and say, go support somebody else.
Say anything.
And it should be visceral. And every Sanders supporter should bristle at it. They should boo him when he's at stadiums. They should hiss at him.
Well, they booed him last time when he said support Hillary.
It was a beautiful thing. They should do it in every stadium when he does that. It should not be tolerated. That was my point. And yeah, protests, I have no issue with protests. Look at what's taking place in Chile and Ecuador and all these places. My point to him was, look around you. Look around you. Why do you think people are burning shit down? And why do you think that the governments relent over that stuff when they realize, oh, right, this is not really real, meaning the governmental stuff. And the entire power of it is based on this notion of public will. And the public can strip away that will at any point. It's not that it's an easy process. It's not that in Chile, them burning down the power company is an easy process to watch or an easy process for them to go through. Or, when the cops are out there murdering people and pushing back these protests. It's not that it's easy. It's just that to some degree it becomes necessary when part of the country ignores public will.
Yeah.
I mean, and look how the country has moved. You have income inequality that is beyond anything else. And they say, you know what? Got to give those billionaires more money. We need a tax cut. That's out of kilter with the world. Most people in this country, about like 70%, wants taxes increase, and yet they're cutting taxes. That is entirely out of kilter with what the public wants in accordance to what the government wants, meaning they're detached.
Yeah.
Something has to make that attachment again. And if it takes burning shit down to do so, then it takes burning shit down to do so. And I mean that in an organic sense. I think it happens organically when it gets so far out of kilter where the public is like, what? Oh, they're fucking up. They're out of alignment.
Yeah.
I would even argue Trump to some degree is that. Brexit, 5-star movement, Bolsonaro. I mean, you can go around the world.
Marcus Will says, if Bernie is cheated, switch to Tulsi, she will fight. Can you pull up the super chats?
Yeah.
Because I missed one.
Switch to Tulsi. I don't know
Can't
how why
bring
you.
yours up, Najin. I'm sorry.
I don't know why you think if Sanders is cheated. I mean, to be fair, I do think Tulsi.
I am. We're trying to get to it now, Majin.
Tulsi is not going to run third party.
Majin Bull.
And if Tulsi is not going to run third party, then she may say something about it, but fight. I don't know how. I'm trying to get it to reload.
Majin saying, please read the super chat. We are. I can't, for some reason, my chat feed has stopped at a certain point, so I can't scroll back. So we're having to pull the super chats up on the computer, which is still being a little wonkish.
I don't know why this thing is so slow. It was doing fine earlier.
You have like 87 windows open.
Oh, you haven't seen me in my you haven't seen me in my when I have like all those windows open. I started not doing that for this exact reason, like because when you have like 30 windows open, it slows everything down.
Yeah.
All right, so come on. It's loading.
Welcome to Contributor Appreciation. I'm not going to do it again.
You want to give your spiel? Go ahead, give your spiel.
No, last time you cut me off.
I cut you off because I saw this part, the
Doesn't matter
Abadati thing, and it was pertinent to what we were talking about.
If I start again, you might see something else. So,
I'm not going to see anything else.
I'm good.
I promise.
Hopefully you guys got the spiel from the first time because I ain't doing it again and be cut off. I got rights, man.
It's sad.
Pride.
It's a bit bitter, man. You shouldn't be bitter.
What happened? It was there.
It's...
What the...
Yeah, YouTube is doing weird stuff, and they changed the dashboard that I hate.
What are they saying? Miss T is very conscientious about it. What are we doing? Yes, thank you, Trudy. We are going back to Super Chats.
Yeah, I'm going now. All right. So this should be right here.
Don't you forget, #justice for Jay. Is Jay here?
All right, here we go. All right.
All right, so we got... Oh, Majin Bull, 17. He said, I saw something about Sanders having 30 days to get on the ballot in VA. Any info?
That's on you.
I actually do know about that because I
used to work for the Sanders campaign.
Volunteering for the Sanders campaign. Unfortunately, I haven't done anything in some time. But what he's referring to is, whatever, that's a whole nother episode. What he's referring to is every state has to have a certain amount of signatures in order to get a candidate on the ballot. Mm-hmm. Sanders needs like 15,000 or whatever the number is. And the deadline is in like 28 days. And we have not gotten that many signatures. Now, to be fair,
how many do you need?
A lot more.
Really?
Yeah. Richmond, Virginia has outdone their quota or their, estimate amount. But places in Northern Virginia are really, really behind. And so far, he does not have the signatures needed to get on the ballot. That I'm not sure of as far as I know, volunteerism. But like I said,
he hasn't opened up.
All I know is what happens in Virginia. In Richmond, because I'm in Richmond. And Richmond has hit their quota. So it's outside counties.
Oh, that's why what's her name was arguing. She was pissed off. Because she was saying, she made the point like, we've done our job or something like that, or we were able to get them before the other people got out there to do their stuff. Right. Is that what she was talking about?
I don't remember what you're referring to, but probably. Our local organizer for Richmond was kind of like promoted. She actually works for the campaign now for all of Virginia. And so it's been a little less action or a little less events than it was before.
But that was in Richmond, though. And you said Richmond got
right. But Richmond hit their estimated or their like quota or whatever.
What are they doing?
So I don't know what the other ones were. I don't want to speak ill on the campaign. Hard eye roll.
I want to answer this. Rob R, you're so rude, stop interrupting your wife. Yeah, I want to say go fuck yourself. How I interact with my wife is a responsibility between my wife and I. She doesn't need you jumping in to defend her. She's a strong woman that can handle that. That's so fucking sexist.
And get interrupted all on my own. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, that's so sexist. Be less sexist, Rob. Women.
Yeah, screw you, Rob. I'm gonna get interrupted if I want to. I don't know. But
no,
yes,
my point is,
you are correct. So far, he has not gotten the required signatures to be on the ballot in Virginia. They are doing some big pushes. I got an email about doing a phone bank to call Northern Virginia, which I probably will help out with that one. There was a lot
You were supposed to be doing a show talking about the Sanders stuff. You remember that?
There's not really a whole lot going on other than us having meetings. I mean, people were canvassing. I haven't been to any of the canvasses. When I did set up my own canvas, they said, well, come to this event instead of doing your canvas.
Yeah.
So...
We got to get my mom on the job.
There's still work that needs to be done. Clearly, it's still pretty early in the game. But
that's disturbing. He said they only have 30 days left. Is that true?
It's like 28 days. It was 29 days, I think the day before yesterday. It's less than 30 days to get the signatures. But I did get an email about doing a phone bank to contact people. If
Sanders can't get on the ballot
in Northern Virginia, then
is this happening anywhere else?
I don't know about anywhere else. I
had a conversation with Laura Steiner and Lauren, and she was telling me about California, and she was saying some of the similar things in California, like, some of the people they got to do this is not necessarily on board. They're not doing a good job. He should be doing X as opposed to Y. I got to be honest. That's disturbing. Has the other campaigns got theirs for Virginia? And if so, why haven't Sanders?
I don't know.
I need you to be on that, babe.
I don't know.
I need you to be on.
I will get the answers. Write that down. You want to write it on the paper?
I'm writing
Is
it
it
down.
a pencil or pen?
It's a pen.
I will
get the answers.
get the answers.
Now, I'm going to make sure I put in to the Sanders thing that was in the video relating to how many signatures.
Do you want me to come back later and do a separate video on it?
Yeah. But I need you to send us.
Will get I will. That just says I will get the answers to what.
I'll fill it in.
No, I need you to fill it.
Go ahead.
I will get the answers to what's going on in regards to getting Bernie on the ballot in Virginia, and I will come back between now and next Sunday and do a video to update you on that. So that's gonna be my own video.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Najin.
All right.
Romeo, I don't know what that means.
That's all you, boo.
I will get the answers to what's going on to getting Sanders on ballot in Virginia. You might want to put and report on it or do a show on it.
All right.
I'm just saying, if you're going to hold me to it, because I can back out of that shit easily. I got the answers.
Bam.
And report on it. Okay. All right. Is that my signature? Yeah. Hyphen Thomas.
I don't know.
Boom.
I don't know what that is, man.
That's my
you gotta write a real
signature.
signature.
You don't know what my signature looks like? Full name.
There we go. I don't know, I don't know who that S person is. That could be Sean.
Well, because I don't go by my first name, I just put S Aisha. Somebody asked how you spell my name. It's Aisha. They can't see that.
They can see it.
No, they can. They can't see that. They can't see that. There's a stream lab. All right, what other topics do we have? Because it's almost 8 o'clock. It's my bedtime. I will get the answers for you, Najin, because it is something that's going on, and Bernie is at risk of not being on the ballot in Virginia.
That'll be there forever.
They are saying that some people may not have turned in their signatures because it's this form that you have to get where people are basically signing, and they're just signing to say, yes, we want him on the ballot. Not that I'm going to vote for him or anything else. And so through canvassing, we've gone out or they've gone out and gotten these signatures.
I gotta be honest, that's disturbing to me. Like, because, look.
But then they have to, be notarized and turned in. And so they're hoping that some people just haven't turned theirs. I actually have a couple myself.
I want Sanders to
but
win.
But only 3, so that's not going to help.
I want him to win. And because I want him to win, I want, in the various states...
No, GB, we haven't.
...to know that his campaign is running on all cylinders. Hearing reports from California concerns me. And then being in Virginia, hearing reports about, he got 28 days and he hasn't gotten all his signatures. And my first question is, has the other campaigns got theirs? And if the answer is yes...
But to be fair, this is, unfortunately, the only way for the campaign to get signatures is for people to ask for signatures. Okay. And if you don't have people going out and asking for signatures, he may have 100% support.
People.
But those people are donating, and those people are online pledging to him. Those people don't even know. Half of them don't even know. You didn't even know this was an issue.
No. I'm saying he has 1 million volunteers. He brags about it all the time. He says, I got 1 million volunteers out in America. I got 1 million volunteers. And even in Iowa, there was he has that powerhouse volunteers.
Let me do a dig on myself. I am a volunteer. And for the last month, I haven't done anything for the campaign. I mean, let's just be honest. I can be honest about it. I did a whole lot.
I won't go down to you,
leadership kind of changed, and I've been waiting for the opportunity. And then I did some traveling, and now it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get in there. But if every other volunteer is like me, then I can understand why.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they're not. But I mean, let's just be honest. And we have talked about.
But to be fair, you got yours in Richmond. Like, you guys did at least that part.
Richmond did.
Yeah, Richmond did. Which is where you were. So I'm not. I guess my point is, don't dig yourself too hard when you guys got the responsibility. You got it done.
No, I'm just being honest. The thing about volunteerism is it's volunteerism. You can't hold any people to it. I remember early on, there were a lot of people that signed up to be like team leads and all this other stuff, and then they just
whittled away.
Yeah, and so I think that's just the nature of the beast.
You think he needs to spend money to get this work?
Well, he does have campaign. Like, our leader is actually working for the campaign. So there is money being spent to get this to happen.
Did you guys get money for pamphlets or anything?
No. That's paid for out of pocket. We have one guy on our Richmond team who's our printer guy.
So think about that for a moment. He's trying to get all of this stuff in Richmond. How is it that stuff gets financed if he expects you guys to do it out of pocket? And if the volunteer, and I agree with you with the volunteer thing, that's a double-edged sword. There may be people who are true, full believers. Those people got jobs, husbands, wives, kids. They have all these other responsibilities, and this is one of those things that you get some that get radicalized in it that love it. You have others who, meh.
The moment that it becomes inconvenient, it gets put on the back burner.
Right, because I'm
And
volunteering.
it sucks, but that's the reality. Like, if I have a meeting for my job or the chapter that I'm on the board of, unfortunately, if it's the same day as a Bernie volunteer meeting, I'm going to go to that other, I have other responsibilities.
Yeah, you have other things.
So I get it. Najan says also, Majan Bolt, sorry, I'm getting cross-eyed. Majan says also, I haven't even heard Sanders mention it. Yeah, I get emails all the time about Sanders, but that's something that he should be sending out in the emails is getting signatures on the freaking ballot.
Listen to this. Marcus Will, when we burn, okay, we read that one. Oak Ringo, Mrs. Thomas. Jamal had a 420 last time while you were asleep. I think it was like 4 in the morning.
Did you have a 420 last night?
Yeah, Cisco.
Oh, I'm just going to call you out real quick because you be putting me on blast and then you put your mama on blast and, that's my homegirl. So, retaliation.
Okay.
Karma, revenge, all that shit. Did you put the Cisco video on the Black Box channel?
I did not put it on Black Box.
Pourquoi?
Because it was a political video.
About Star Trek.
Yes. Star Trek gets political at times.
And what is the Black Box supposed to house? What kind of content is supposed to be?
New Agey stuff. Wool stuff.
Star Trek stuff?
It could.
Isn't there
Star Trek has a lot of stuff that fits around
there
it.
now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Superman stuff, not Star Trek.
Okay.
I mean, it could have fit on Black Box. It could have fit on Black
I'm just saying,
Box.
I don't know why you started that channel.
But it also fits on.
And to be fair to all of your
Crystal
viewers
Box.
who want to know, I try, and I'm like, last week we had a conversation. What did we talk about last week? Some aliens or something? Outer body experiences when there were aliens, like when you were doing all this stuff and I was freaked out about it. I cut the video to be put on the Black Box. It ain't on the Black Box channel.
See, I thought you told me you put it on the Black Box.
No, you didn't.
No, really, I thought you did.
I didn't put it on there.
Okay, I put it on. I could have swore you said I put a video on the Black Box.
I just want you all to know that I haven't.
Did you put any video on the Black Box?
I didn't put anything on the Black Box because, like all of the other videos that I cut and upload, I give them to you, and you give them a pretty name, and you post them.
I'll add that one to the Black Box.
Okay, and the
All for
Cisco
you,
one.
But the Cisco one is a little different.
It's a Star Trek one. Put it on the fucking Black Box.
It's a Star Trek one. If people
You started that, and
I
people
did
want
start
content, and you are. That is.
Here's the catch. Here's the rub. When I first started this channel, I would do a lot of Star Trek. Like, I would do Star Trek stuff anytime. It would just be random. And you had a group of people who loved it. A group of people who just didn't care. It's like, why is this on a political channel? Missing the point, this is not a political channel. The channel is literally named Jamarl Thomas. It's whatever I wanted to be. I just so happened to be heavy into politics. The Star Trek stuff fits in the sense that there's some people who look at that like, there was somebody who said, I never watched Star Trek. I didn't realize it was this interesting, but this is pretty awesome. It does fit, especially when you're talking about it in a political sense. Like, the question that was asked was Cisco right? And just,
wait, we're not going to go into.
We're not going to go into it. I guess my point is, there's a political angle to that in the way that we make decisions.
Fine, but there's also a Star Trek angle, so put it on the Black Box. Maggie Smith says she don't even know what the Black Box is. Shame on you. Shame. At the beginning of the year, around that time, Jamal started a secondary channel called The Black Box. He did this introduction. We did like a premiere. He did a Superman video about it, and he was going to push content like just anything, but predominantly kind of out there or 420-ish.
The boys will be
Alien, Star Trek ones, super comics, all that stuff.
Speaking of aliens, what's his name?
He's only put
Snowden.
one video on there.
Was it Snowden? Yeah, Snowden comes out. In his book, he says he searched everywhere for stuff about aliens and couldn't find it. And he's like, and I'm like, but you didn't even know ATIP existed. Just because Snowden is in a company or whatever, and he has the ability to look through, he's limited in what he can look through. He doesn't even know the names of that stuff.
What's happening?
You said the black box for aliens and stuff. I think Snowden comes out and says, I wasn't able to find anything on aliens and stuff that I was looking for. I guess my point is, he didn't know ATIP existed either. He didn't know that existed
Okay,
either.
well, I've seen like 5 or 6 people that are talking about they don't know what the black box is.
Also, Luis
Your mom
Elizondo
said
is now
don't let
getting
you.
smeared.
Your mom said don't let you change the subject.
I'm not changing the subject.
She's salty because you tried to put her under the bus.
I didn't put her
and
under the
blast her out
bus.
there. I feel you, Mom.
I didn't put her under the bus.
Anyway,
people can have different points of view, and debate those points of view. I just disagree.
The Box is not a music channel.
Now, the Black Box...
The Black Box was a music channel in the 90s. Maybe.
was?
The link is supposed to be down in the description
It is.
box below.
It is. It's right here.
Even though there's only 2 channels. I mean, 2...
It is literally...
Yeah, but nobody looks at that.
Then why did you just say that?
Well, because they need to know to look there for it. Like, they might see and be like, I don't know what that is, and scroll through. But now that we're saying the link is in the description box.
God damn it, Google.
What happened?
The title never changed.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, give this video a thumbs up if you would like for Jamal to put more content on the Black Box channel.
I mean, the Cisco video only got 1,000 viewers.
So what?
I guess my point is...
If you want that channel... So what did you tell me the other day about my little channel I'm starting? Put content on there to get more people.
Yes, but you don't have a secondary channel where you can actually grow that competes with that channel.
Because you were like, well, I'm going to put it on Progressive Soapbox, and then they'll maybe look at it and be like, that defeats the purpose. Put it on the Black Box.
Nobody knows it's there.
Because you're not promoting it, and you're not putting content on it.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
All right, do we have any more topics? Because people are asking what we're going to be for Halloween.
I don't have any
Humans.
per se. You have any plans?
Bo is Superman.
Oh, right. Pitsu is
And Pitsu
Batman.
is Batman. Because if you've ever seen Batman versus Superman, it's ridiculous. Because clearly Superman could blink and just kill Batman. But for some reason, he puts up with Batman shit and doesn't just take him out. That is the relationship between Bo and Pitsu. Because even though Bo is 70-something pound pit bull and Pitsu is a little 35-ish mix of a Shih Tzu and a pit bull, whole other story. He lets Pitsu just run him. If like you're petting Bo or you're doing something with Bo, Pitsu's little short Shih Tzu baby legs, he'll actually jump on Bo's head and like use him as like a footstool kind of thing to stand up. He takes Bo's toys if Bo has his chew. Now, he won't take his chew because Bo is greedy.
Yeah,
but that's why they are Batman and
That is
Superman.
the one thing that you don't fuck with. Like, I don't know if he was abused when we got him.
Pretty sure he was abused just because of the way that, like, when you tried to pet him, he would get kind of cower
He used
and
to,
jump.
he used to have some...
Bo was a rescue from the shelter, and he was there for several months before we got him. Pitsu is our spoiled dog that we've had since he was like 4 months old, who we got right... No one cares, but I'm giving my dog spiel, so... we got right after I lost my other dog, and so he is our baby, and he acts like a baby.
We do have super chats. What if Brexit calls all Celtic nations to unify? Ireland, Northern Ireland, Isle of Man, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, and even Britain and France. So here's the thing. Boris Johnson is throwing over the DUP overboard. Now, he wants to get Brexit done. That matters to him more than anything else. And what the DUP ran up on, whether they realize it or not, is that they lost power in the party. Boris Johnson didn't have a government with the DUP, let alone without the DUP. So his Brexit deal doesn't really matter. Like, meaning the DUP at one point was the power brokers when it allowed Tories to control Parliament. Well, Tories got rid of like 20-something of their members. The DUP are very few in number, and so whatever their power broker status used to be, it's not now. And the election that Bojo wants to have is to get those Tories in to allow him to do his thing. Now, here's the catch. If you put a border, or put a border down the Irish Sea, and you tell Northern Ireland, look, you're going to be in pretty much regulatory alignment with Europe, just like the Republic of Ireland. Well, after a while, it's not, insane for Northern Ireland to say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we pretending? And the problem that DUP has is they can't get out of the regulatory alignment. I mean, the DUP wants to, they're true believers. They want to be Brits. They want to stay with Britain. And they don't want anything to take place that may isolate them from that. This deal will do that. And they don't have the numbers in the body that Boris Johnson wants to hand power over to. Meaning the body that he wants to hand it over to will never make the choice to reunify with Britain. So they're looking at it as like, yeah, fuck this. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Catch here is they might not have a choice. It may not matter. I mean, ultimately, I guess the point of it is, if Boris Johnson goes through with this deal, it is possible that Ireland will unify just because they're keeping Northern Ireland into an alignment with the EU, which means that it's more closely in alignment with the Republic of Ireland than it is with the UK. That creates certain problems, especially if you don't have the ability to ever go back to the UK to resume that alignment. If that parliament, with the body over and over just says, yeah, we want to stay, we want to stay, we want to stay, we want to stay, well, at some point they're just going to say, fuck it, let's get rid of this. So, yeah. Now, I don't know about Cornwall and Britain and France. That part, I don't know. Scotland is different. So Scotland is weird. Scotland National Party has been screaming for an election for fucking ever.
I remember seeing.
Yeah, you've seen a few of those to get up. Because I think when you're... Sometimes I'm watching Parliament and she's there with me. I don't think you're entirely paying attention, but you know the Scottish guy gets up and attacks Theresa May. You're like, oh, wow, that's brutal. And ultimately, they always say the same thing. We're going to leave. We're going to leave. We want to leave. We don't want to take, we don't want you to drag us away from the EU. As if Scotland's economy is somehow going to be better served with the European Union and those right-wingers as opposed to the UK, where they have a voice in the discussions that are being made. I mean, for fuck's sake, they're like they get like even answers, like in a way, like multiple answers when they're in PMQs. I get it, it's devolved power, but the Scottish National Party seem to have a particular ideology that may not necessarily fall in line with what is in the best interest of Scotland. And just because, yes, Ireland may get pushed, but Scotland is different. I don't think these things are the same. I had a friend who was Scottish. And at the time, it wasn't political. I had no idea what the fuck she was talking about. She said, God, I hope they don't change over to the euro. She was very clear. I don't want to use the euro. Because she understood how it fucks up the economies of the countries. And her thing was, that's not what I want for this country. Yeah. Now, whether or not she wants to stay with Britain or not, I don't know. I would imagine if she said that, she wanted to keep the pound, she wanted to stay with the UK.
Read the last super chat from Trudy.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Trudy. We're going to get all the way off topic.
Uh-oh. Where is this going? Why can't I see it? Why can't I see it? You might have to read it. I can't see it.
Trudy said Data versus Odo.
In what way? Odo loses. I was about to say Odo loses the fight. But Odo is a change.
That, Trudy, is a good topic for the black box.
But that's a weird topic. Why would they fight?
Well, Trudy's going to answer it so that you can give...
No, what I mean is, in what context?
She's going to answer it.
Intelligence?
So that you can do a video for the black box.
The self-lead officers, they should be fighting. And talk about non-confrontational. Data.
Oh, people are saying data. Data. What do you guys think?
So my thought was data, but I had a secondary thought. What if Odo can get into the systems of data?
Microsoft said, who will win in the knife fight?
Odo is a changeling.
I don't think that's what Trudy was saying.
Odo's a changeling.
I know what Odo is.
Meaning, Odo has the ability to essentially seep into Data's processors and cut off his brain, the positronic network. That's my first thought.
When I said data.
It depends on the situation, right?
Gardenome says Odo in a straight-up fight.
I think Odo in a straight-up fight. Have you seen Odo change?
Saying data. I have seen him. I see when he changed that blob thing.
Look, my point is,
which is like
they're missing Odo's capabilities. How does Data kill something that can change into pretty much anything? He can even get to a point where Data can't even hit him. Like there have been changelings who have changed into these fucking large monsters. Odo, at one point, turned into one of the best episodes of Star Trek.
Trudy said yes in a fight. At some point, Odo needs to go liquid so Data can fry him.
One of the best episodes of Star Trek was Odo getting in a relationship with Kira. I don't know if you remember this. Commander Kira, she was a Bajoran. She had the...
Yeah.
Them two get in a relationship.
I remember that.
He's in love with her. And there are two really good episodes on that where Odo has gotten older, like 10, 15 years older, and she died. And where he was a different fucking person. Like he had it was him, but I mellowed him, if that makes sense. Like his ability to calm down, to not be this kind of aggressive, pushy person. Like he was in love with her, and then she died, and he evolved because of it. And his perspective of the world and everything else was also on that. On the other one, when he couldn't have, he was in liquid form with the other changeling because they can melt. Kira was jealous because Kira was like,
well, I remember that because I think like he looked like a big blob or something.
Right,
I remember seeing that
blob. Kira was like, you keep hanging out with that bitch. That's essentially what was...
Trudy said I hated that episode. It was dumb and slimy. I remember being slimy.
Well, that's not where I'm going.
Oh, sorry.
Odo was trying to find a way to make Kira okay with this. Like, look, I know that we interact in a way that you can't necessarily do. Like, you can't turn into a blob and us share thoughts and feelings and emotions and that stuff. So fair enough. There's aspects of me that you can't necessarily share that I can share with people who are like me. He turned into a fog because his thought was he wanted to try to get something across to her in the sense of us being closer together than we are in solid bodies. And there's a fog falling around her and this kind of romantic gesture. My point is, how does Data deal with that? You can't shoot that. You can't do anything to that. And by the way, he can fold into Data's processors and again, shut off his brain. Like, I don't know how Data wins that fight. Now, Data is magnificently brilliant. So he may be able to find something in the moment to win that. So I don't write him off. My first thought was Data. Then my second thought was like, wait a minute, how does Data deal with that? I don't know. Like, what if Odo oozes into Data's mouth and nose and ears and gets into systems where he essentially destroys them from the inside?
From the inside, too.
Odo is a changer. He has so many things that he can do. I don't know, Trudy. What does Trudy think? She thinks Odo?
She didn't say. Old Gringo, Battlestar. Oh, she's talking about Battlestar.
Battlestar's good too.
Galactica.
Suicide bombers, agree or disagree?
With what do you mean? Agree or disagree with what?
Suicide bombers, is it right?
No.
Never?
Give me an instance in when it would be right.
Just asking.
I can't think of when I would want to be a super bomber, a suicide bomber. See, my brain function is setting down.
What if you are under a fascist government and you need to push back? Meaning,
There's no other way than suicide bombing?
So the guy that set the bomb to kill Hitler, that guy was wrong?
I don't like these questions. It's too much pressure.
Instead of putting a bomb in, what if he went in and just exploded the bomb himself? He would have been able to get him if he was willing to give his life for his country.
Suicide bombing could be a means to an end if it doesn't involve me dying.
They're going to have a video of Mrs. Thomas pro-suicide bomber.
I love dying.
What do you mean? So you don't love your people and your country enough to give your life? So Spock giving his life for his ship was wrong?
Can you insert a graphic of like me like glitching out and stuff like that?
So Spock giving his life for his ship was wrong?
I don't know, babe.
I'm asking
you. He wasn't real.
But people give their lives for their fellow men. The guy who set himself on fire.
I think in the circumstance I might.
Robert McNamara gives a story about a man who comes to his office door and sets himself on fire in order to protest the Vietnam War. His wife comes out and explains he was passionate about this. We're murdering these people in mass. We need to stop. And he wanted to get across that this is what our bombs do. Was he wrong?
No.
Is the guy who set the bomb to kill Hitler wrong?
No.
And if he would have had a suicide vest on to ensure that he would have gotten Hitler, would he have been wrong?
Probably not. So
you're pro-suicide bomber?
In some instances, as long as it doesn't directly involve myself. That is the honest, selfish answer. I feel like there could hopefully be another means to an end.
They didn't get Hitler.
But
they had to win the war. They had to kill millions more, 10 million more before it got to the point.
Why are you asking me this question?
I think it's an interesting question. I do. Right and wrong, I've argued, are not real.
Do you think a suicide bomber is ever...
Yes.
Really, just like that?
Yes.
So Jamarl Thomas is pro-suicide?
Depending on the situation, yes.
Well, see, that's what I said.
I guess the point is right and wrong doesn't exist. Right and wrong are proportional to what you're trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like if, under normal circumstances, a person strapping a bomb on his chest is an utter horrendous thing. By the same token, if you had Jews, let's say in Poland, pushing back against Hitler, or pushing back against, let's say France, Vichy France, and you had people who were their partisans, who were fighting, and who were getting tortured and beaten and everything else, and they were trying to push back the scourge, why would it be wrong for them to defend their homeland and try to push back the scourge through whatever means they had at their disposal? Especially if you were fighting an enemy that was much stronger than you, you would have to fight them asymmetrically, meaning some people may put their bodies on the line to push back the night. The question becomes, why? What's the goal? What's the objective? Is it effective? And
sorry,
Battlestar Galactica is the reason I brought it up. In Battlestar Galactica, you get a situation where they start suicide bombing in order to push back, essentially, occupation by the machines.
So
that video, those episodes were dark, and they were dark in a way that asked the question: is suicide bombing ever right? Now, this is asking to an American public, where America hears, oh God, these Muslims are suicide bombing. Why? Because that's what they have. That's all they have at their disposal to fight back. You're pushing, this is some weapon that is different from the bombs that you're dropping. Yes, it's a person who's using it, and it's gassing because that person is giving his life. But that person is giving his life for something they believe in.
Okay.
My point is, on Battlestar Galactica, they did the same thing against machines. And people watched that video, and I remember watching that thinking oh my God. That is so dark. That's so fucking dark. Awesome episodes.
Thanks for this, Trudy.
They're awesome episodes. They're awesome episodes.
All right, so to follow up really quickly.
And wait, one last point. I didn't want you to interrupt me. The doctor on the show is a puppet. Now, as a puppet, he's essentially being pushed and abused by the machines to sign documents with his name on it to give legitimacy to the shit that the machines want. Meaning, so the machines can turn back and says, look, you guys wrote the law says this. You need to abide by the law. And this was written by the doctor who's the president of your colony. So, I mean, that's the law. So we can do whatever we want to you now because we've just written the law and we were leaning. Now, think of this in the terms of Venezuela. Moreno getting pushed and leaned on by the United States into making certain choices. The IMF gives him a loan. He hands over Julian Assange. And they say, you also have to do all of these things to your society now that you got the loan. Moreno is the president. Moreno is being pushed by the IMF to take certain actions. That's no different, or very little difference, between this notion of a superpower leaning on another country and machines leaning on the doctor in order to give the fig leaf of legitimacy to law. Is law legitimate when it wasn't put through legitimate means? And is it legitimate when it goes contrary to what the public wants, especially if the government itself is supposed to be the representative of the public and it doesn't represent the public? How do you respond to that? It's not that I think, all right, man, that fucking cop, I'm going to put on a suicide vest. I don't think it's that, or marijuana is illegal and I don't want to be harassed, and so I'm going to make a statement. It's not that. There should be other ways to try to get that stuff across. But clearly, there are situations where there are not.
Okay.
Meaning, if you're asking, it depends on the situation. Like most things.
Okay.
Right and wrong doesn't exist. It's entirely dependent upon what you're trying to accomplish. My ideology, I would hope, tries to line up with the world and asks the question, what does a human being need to live? Air, water, clean, food, shelter, a sense of fulfillment. And if that person doesn't have those things, your society is chaos. My goal is for people to have those things. Meaning my ideology is folded into this notion of, I don't want the fucking chaos. I want society. I want the Star Trek society. I want my flying car. And in order to get that, I need society to be calm, rational, and not vomit up somebody like Trump. Meaning these neoliberal policies with this notion of profit and everything else need to go away. My ideology is conformed around that.
Somebody said Ecuador, not Venezuela.
No, Venezuela. Well, yes, Ecuador. I'm sorry. You're right. Ecuador.
No, they're right. I didn't. I followed.
Well, Venezuela has Guaido, but Ecuador was what I was talking about with Moreno. But Venezuela also works with Guaido. The Guaido would get in office, they would probably kill Moreno, and then they would immediately turn policy around to whatever the United States wants.
Okay.
He's being leaned on by foreign power, but he has a patsy that's willing. At the very least in Battlestar Galactica, the doctor wasn't willing. He was... There's a really good episode. There's a really good episode where they're telling him to sign it because they need to deal with suicide bombers.
No.
All right, we ain't got to talk about it.
Trudy said,
wait. Where's Rob R?
Rob R is not on.
Is Rob R going to jump in and defend me? You're so fucking sexist, Rob. You're so rude. Stop interrupting Mrs. Tom. Where are you, Rob? You can jump in and defend my honor now. Why isn't Rob jumping in to defend my honor?
Trudy said Odo is too touchy-feely to cheat by entering data.
That's not cheating. How's that cheating? Just so we're clear. If you and I are playing a game of chess, I have every right and responsibility, and everybody would back me up whole hog, and they would even applaud me for trying to win that game by hook or by crook with everything within the context of the rules of the game. That's across the board for any sport or any game. There's some things that sportsmanship, yes, that's true. But there is no wrong in Odo going into Data. The notion that Odo is going to fight him as a solid is nonsense. Why would he? Why would he? Is Data going to shut off part of his positronic brain? Is he going to put down his muscle mass or is the capacity to lift everything? He's not. You're talking about both using the capabilities that they have at their disposal to kind of go at it and see who wins. I'm saying Data loses that fight. If you notice, how many times have Data broken down? Think back.
I can't because I haven't seen all Star Trek like you have.
He's broken down a few times. He's been injured, by the way, a few times. If you remember when Data was on that planet and he was trying to save that thing from a water contamination and they hit him in the head, the population itself was able to take Data out just by hitting him in the head. Not to mention ethical subroutines or whether or not he should fight her. Like, all that stuff comes into play. Data loses that fight, and Data is one of my favorite people. He signed that. Brent Spiner. Love the guy now because he was so nice to me at the GalaxyCon.
My God.
He's one of my favorite people now on the planet.
All right, so you do not need me for the remainder of this segment. So I am
segment?
whatever is happening right
Nothing's
now.
happening now. We're getting it. I was just going to tell you about, before I was rudely interrupted, about the Battlestar Galactica one where
It's 8:31.
the doctor was told to sign something. They were trying to deal with the suicide bombers, and they were torturing people and all, and they were trying to deal with the suicide bombers, and they wanted him to sign this ghastly law, and he's like, I'm not signing that. I know there was mass killings. They were having mass deaths. They were taking people out and killing them in mass, and they wanted the doctor to sign. So I'm not signing that order. Fuck that. And there's a scene where they are like grabbing him by the head and they're like, sign it. They're like screaming in his ear. And the doctor, all the pain that a man could feel with one eye, weeps. It just bam, just falls down his face. And he's kind of in this other space where the woman who he's been seeing in his head is engaging him because he's in such torment at this moment because they're trying to get him to sign a document that says, I give legal permission to round up people in mass and have them murdered. That scene is fucking awesome. Battlestar Galactica was so good. It was so good. Good. Whoever brought that up, fucking A, man. That was good.
Shame on you, Trudy.
Trudy brought that up. Good job, Trudy. She knows her shit, man.
All right, I'm gonna go.
We can end it here.
I'm done for the night.
I'm gonna be on Fault Lines in the morning, guys. So it's gonna be a 4:30 morning thing and riding.
Yeah, somebody asked about that. If you did not know, like I said earlier, Jamal is on Fault Lines, a local radio station based in DC. I don't know the numbers for that one.
I don't know the numbers for that one
He
either.
was on Friday, but if you are a patron on the Patreon platform,
Apparently Lee is not. Oh, I'm sorry.
then you
Do you, boo?
thanks.
Do you,
Lee,
boo? You want me to give you? You want me to give you
Give
want
me
me to give
a
you
what?
a spotlight or something?
What kind of spotlight?
Oh no, I was gonna make you. Nice.
No, by the time you get finished with that, I'm gonna
Cut.
be done. Yes, but he's on he's on Fault Lines Radio, and he was on Friday as well. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow from 7 to 10 Eastern.
Yeah.
On Fault Lines Radio. You can check it out at Radio Sputnik online, and if you are a patron on the Patreon platform, you can use the link that I gave last week on Friday, and I will put a link to the YouTube channel first thing in the morning, or you can check out Fault Lines Radio YouTube channel here on YouTube.
It's so weird to go into a studio, like a office.
It looks like a legit. Cool.
It's so weird. It's like, after doing this for so long, your schedule is, to some degree, I mean, that could be better or worse. I have a tendency to kind of overwork at times in fits and spits and things. But going into an office is so weird. We haven't been into an office. And you feel completely detached from everything that happens because ultimately that's not really your show. I mean, you want the show to go well. You want everything to go great. But the behavior of the people who are there are essentially subordinated to an authority. And so they act outside of the way they would typically act if you saw them out in public. And as you go in, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm the talent in this piece. It's like you're a porn star. It's like, yeah, I'm the talent. Let's get down. I mean, that's kind of how it feels. It's like you're going there. You see people in an office setting. They're not you. I mean, they're doing whatever they're doing, but you're in a different class. And meaning, you're doing radio. They're doing the naming, the announcing, the coming up with the text that the people are reading, the show stuff, and it's so weird. It's just so bizarre. I know when I was doing software, you have people who are answering phones, you have people who are answering the other stuff, and you were kind of in your own little clique with these other people in the other side of the office. That's kind of how it feels. You go in and you leave. They're still there. They're there all day. Now, mind you, I have to drive back home and probably do a show afterwards, but still, it's cool. I like it.
Okay,
and not to
tune
mention
in tomorrow,
Garland's cool as
7
well.
p.m. with Garland Nixon and Lee Stranahan on the Fault Lines
Well, Lee's not going to be there.
Radio. He's going to be taking Lee Stranahan's spot because Lee is still sick.
Let me tell you a story.
But okay.
I thought, wait, this will be quick. I promise. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, you can tell it.
2 minutes.
Tell it.
Come on, babe.
I'm sure they're interested
It's
in
bad
hearing
luck
it.
to lead the show like that.
No,
Come on.
that's some shit you just made up.
That's not, no, really. It's almost,
Shame.
It's like in basketball, you always have to make one shot before you leave. You never heard that?
I made a shot.
You didn't make a shot, babe. We're supposed to leave together. That's
Well,
so
then
disrespectful.
leave.
Where's Rob R? Why doesn't Rob R jump into this?
You lied to me.
Why doesn't Rob R
You
jump
lied,
into this?
so I have free reign to leave.
How do I lie? What did I lie about?
Because you said that you were going to end it, and you didn't.
Well, I have a fucked up interpretation of time. That's not a lie. That's just me being bad at time. I was like, all right, this is going to be quick. And
No, you said no. I'm not talking about a time lie. A definitive lie like, I'm just going to tell this one last thing and then I'll be done.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, bye.
I guess it depends on your definition of a thing, but fair enough. That's why I wanted to be very
Ciao.
specific.
Everybody have a good night.
I'm waiting for Rob R to jump in and defend
Rob
my
R
honor.
has nothing to say to you. Penny says Mrs. T rocks.
Where's Rob R? I guess my point is, it's kind of sexist for him to come in and defend a woman as if she needs defense of this guy, as opposed to defending me also and being equal opportunity in this really shady deal that's going down right now.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to
Talk
you.
to the audience.
I'm talking to you. I'm waiting
And you
for
have
Rob
a
R.
super chat.
Where's Rob R? Is that Rob R? Oh, I can't
No.
see it. See, I can't see the one at the bottom.
Oh, Donald Smead said, are you into MMT? I think it assumes humans are not hoarders.
So I'm not in it or not in it. I'm neither. I'm nothing. I'm sorry. I'm nothing MMT. And what I mean by that is none of it's real. None of it's real. Look. I get it. People get themselves like, hey, this system is the thing that's gonna, solve humanity's problems and so forth. And I do agree with you that organizing yourself around certain principles helps, at least from the standpoint of organizing. But don't get stuck into this notion that this stuff is real. That stuff can be organized in all sorts of ways depending upon the needs of the society and the things that the society says, all right, let's do X or let's do Y. Money is not real. The MMT thing is not real. Your government is not real. Capitalism is not real. None of this stuff is real. Socialism is not real. You're human beings. That's real. You're on a planet that's flying across the space. That's real. What you use as your organizing principle, whether it's cash, hey, we have a gimmick to get people to work by forcing them to do X or Y because their needs are at stake and they're going to be hungry and starve and be dead without health care if they don't do X or Y. That's the way of doing it. Maybe you can find some other organizing principle that gets people to do some kind of labor or that pushes people in a way that they would want to do that stuff without necessarily gutting them of their needs. MMT takes this extra approach of saying, look, we're on fiat currency. The fact of the matter is, you don't know if you will stay on fiat currency if other countries of the world decide to change what they're doing. I mean, some of these places are hoarding gold in order to stop the U.S. from being able to be a reserve currency, meaning the MMT thing is not entirely dependent upon your own country, especially as long as you're in a capitalistic system. I'm not against it, for it, because I don't see any of it as real. If people agree that, hey, this is the gimmick that we need to allow people health care, or to allow people Social Security, or to allow their needs to be met as an absolute across the board, as a thing of policy, and not just policy, as a thing in their heads, just kind of hegemonic belief that people are vitally important and those things that they need should be attended to. Especially in the context of a better world. Your chaos and the stuff that goes on in your society to some degree is not magic. I know if people think, oh, violence. Oh, this stuff is so magical that's happening. It's not magic. You put people in shitty situations. What happens when an individual gets in a shitty situation? And you have people responding in all sorts of ways. You have 100 million people in this country. Some are not going to be wrapped tight. Some are going to be in situations where they believe that violence is okay because they were born up in fucked up homes. Some are going to be crack addicts, maybe because of where they were raised, or maybe because of the situations that they found themselves in. Some will end up in prison, and then they will put the person out in the exact same situation that the person was in the first place, and they're shocked as shit that the person goes back to jail. Like, let's be real when we're talking about our society. If you had a person who was, I don't know, let's say in jail, and you look at how that person was raised, what that person was raised into, the culture, the society, all that stuff, and you ask the secondary question of what happens if that person wasn't raised in that particular place. If you come to a decision of saying, yeah, that person would be different, then to some degree you have to take into account that maybe your society is contributing to the fucked up stuff that people. Come on. I'm not against or for MMT. What I want are people needs met. And I want society to at the very least respect that those people's needs are to be met if you have to have any level of a cohesive society. It's not that I think that crime and everything else goes to zero. It is more so that I think it goes down significantly when people's needs are met. You have a far safer society. So if MMT is the gimmick that gets you there, fuck it. I don't care. None of it's real. Am I wrong? Could you eat your money? If you were broke and hungry, could you eat your dollar? Maybe. Is it going to be sustenance? No. Can you lay on it when you're sleeping? No. It's a mental figment. It's so persistent that it seems like it's a thing. It's just automatic. All right, I want that. Oh, I want this. I want that. That's not real either. That's just the way you've end up accruing around stuff because of the society that you were thrown into. Don't get, I guess my only point is don't get caught up in, the end point is the point. And the end point is ensuring, at least from the standpoint of the left, that people have their needs met. I don't care the gimmick that's allowed to do that, providing that gimmick doesn't necessarily hit the skids either. I would much prefer this notion of workers having control of the means of production. But yeah, I don't care. I mean, but just keep in mind, we're $23 trillion in debt. And we have shit to show for it. And many of those were just wars and all this other stuff. If that was people having health care and everything else, I would have no care in the world. Sanders spending $30 trillion to ensure everybody have health care. Why do I care? It's not real. Now, that does have consequences, but Sanders is like, look, we're going to pay for this stuff because he has to answer that in a way that's saying, this is how I'm going to pay for X. Otherwise, people won't give him the leeway to do it. All of his plans have the ability to be paid for, and he has given that because, again, that will be the question that he is hounded with, and lefties get hounded with that question. When we were at the mani-pedi place yesterday, and the commercial came on that was attacking the guy in Congress. Do you remember the commercial? And they were saying this radical socialist wants to give immigrants health care. They're going to be running that same ad for Sanders. I guarantee you. He has to answer how you pay for it. Whether he's using MMT behind the scenes or not is irrelevant. He can never say it, A. But B, whether he uses secondary to it. Do what you got to do to ensure that those things are met. I don't care how. Just be consistent and sustainable. Like, share, subscribe. And by the way, we are already using MMT. The military is we're $23 trillion in debt. Trump's spending $1 trillion a year. And those tax cuts are not paying for themselves. We're already using MMT. We're just giving that money to the rich. That goes both ways. Like, share, subscribe.
Wait.
And thanks for coming, guys.
Wait.
I hear a voice, but that person's not on screen, so they don't really matter. Like, share, subscribe, and I appreciate all of you guys for coming to the show. I don't know, Robert didn't jump in to defend my honor at any particular situation. So, I'm just
Gardner says you're playing identity politics.
With what?
Talking about why didn't Rob come save you?
Well, Rob was calling me, saying that I was being rude and whatnot, and I'm making the point that Mrs. Thomas, a strong black woman, doesn't need a savior in regards to her affairs. That's my point. And that if Rob was being consistent and not sexist because he's felt that you somehow was too weak to deal with issues yourself, then he needed to be consistent and also defends my honor for the person walking off set.
I didn't walk. I rolled.
Same difference. Just saying. I hate to tell you, men, some of you, telling a woman to smile is the exact same thing as believing that she needs your protection in situations where she doesn't need your protection. If she's getting hit in the eye, yeah, fair enough, get involved. If she's being screamed at and it's threatening, fair enough. If a husband is talking to his wife or a guy's talking to his girlfriend, stay the fuck out of it. Unless you have something to do with it.
If you're out in public and you see a husband abusing his wife,
get involved. But that's what I just said. I just said that. I said
what if he's cursing her out?
That stuff gets dicey. I mean, like,
I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, I know. But it's not an absolute. I guess my point is, if you see somebody being abused, yes, get involved.
I was being abused.
Get the fuck out of here. You don't know what abuse is. We've watched Surviving R. Kelly. My thinking of abuse is different. God,
no.
Man. Did you hear David Chappelle? He said he was watching, God, what was he watching? OJ. Did OJ has a show? Juice has a show?
I have no idea.
He said he was watching Juice. He was watching OJ's show. He said that shit is fucked up. All right, guys, I'm going to end this like, Rob, I'm ribbing you, but I think you deserve to ribbing. My wife is perfectly capable of defending herself in a conversation with me. She doesn't need the savior complex.
I appreciate it.
You shouldn't. Honestly, you shouldn't. It's not a good quality to have. If you appreciate that, you should also appreciate guys telling you to smile. Oh, smile. You look so pretty if you smiled. That's the same thing. You realize that, right? Somebody feeling the need to believe, for whatever reason, that you are incapable of defending yourself. I'm saying that's nonsense. If you're being abused, yes. If you're being, roughed up, yes. If somebody is about to hit you in the eye, yes. If your wallet has been stolen, yes. If the husband is, pulling a Chris Brown. Anytime Chris Brown is around, yes, get involved.
Eugene said, smile, Jamal.
That's so fucking sexist. So fucking sexist.
Smile, babe.
So sexist. Would I be offended with a woman telling me to smile? See, it's different, right? We're stuck in a cultural context. It's kind of like a cop being rude if you're African American. You know that cops murder people like that. You know that there's a context, so it's never what it is. There's no way for the person to know what it is. It's always kind of just taken. So it's not the same. It's kind of like sexual harassment. If any of my woman bosses harassing me, I don't necessarily think I'll be all that bothered by it. By the same token, nobody comes to work in order to get harassed. They come to work to do a job. You have no leeway in that sense. I'm saying there's a difference between men and women and how they engage with stuff. A woman telling me to smile, I don't particularly care. A man telling a woman to smile is the issue of control. They're differences. In a different society, I guess it wouldn't matter. But in our society, it matters.
All right, good night.
All right. Jared, there's going to be a video out. Miss Thomas is pro-suicide bomber. That video's coming. If you're ever in politics, it was like, she's okay with suicide bomber. Philosophy
I've
doesn't...
never been in politics.
Politics and philosophy match
Go
horribly.
to sleep. Come on, in this video.
They match horribly.
So I can get out of my chair.
You're out the frame. You could have been out your chair 5 minutes ago.
It's going to be too loud. I'm trying to be respectful.
Oh, we're past that. We're past that. We're way past that. All right, guys. Share, subscribe, and thank you all for showing up. I'll see you guys.